Pokemon is the largest franchise in the world. Almost everyone knows about it, and most people have engaged with Pokemon in some way. So why isn't it as popular as Minecraft, or have a pop in popularity like Fortnite? Why doesn't it have the esports presence of League of Legends or CSGO or other prevalent esports? It's really weird when you get into the numbers. Pokemon Sword and Shield sold over 20 million copies, and the recent promotional material for the new game has been unbelievably successful. But at the time of making this video, only 30,000 people entered the last major online competition, with most of the entrants being Japanese and completely dominating any Western competition. The official competitive Pokemon streams go largely overlooked with underwhelming viewership. Meanwhile, a random animation can get tens of millions of views, eclipsing the most viewed content of the newest games, or even official videos. Markiplier talks about the Pokemon he wants to bang, and that gets more attention than the new Pokemon game announcement, and even in that video, Markiplier doesn't think some of the new Pokemon are real. It's weird. Pokemon is ubiquitous, but its audience feels non-existent most of the time, and I want to find out why for this video, so if you've ever known someone to show an interest in Pokemon, please share this video with them. Also, plug it on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Discord groups, all that fun stuff. It helps more than you can imagine. Same thing with leaving a like. This is the biggest video I've ever worked on because I really want people to be informed about what's going on with Pokemon, and I need your help to do it. So let's get to the cheating. It's bad. Really bad. How bad is it? Well, here's the Pokemon 25th Anniversary Invitational roster. These are former world champions handpicked by the Pokemon Company to attend a 25th anniversary celebration. Here's who was caught with hacked Pokemon, shown with X's. Oh, it's a big problem. And yes, it includes Wolfey VGC, whose world champion title was exclusively obtained through the use of cheated Pokemon, and he's also lied about cheating to win multiple events since then. Would Jaden or Alpharad have worked with him knowing this fact? Hopefully not. They're better than that. Now I know that sounds like a big claim, but it's very easy to prove, so let's take a step back to explain how cheating works in Pokemon, and how it even got this bad in the first place. An overwhelming majority of competitive players use cheated Pokemon because the accessibility has spiraled out of control. My estimation is that over 90% of players use cheated Pokemon at this time. You can't go anywhere on the internet without being bombarded by a Pokemon hacking service ad. Actually, let's test it out. If you're an old school Pokemon fan, you probably know what these are. Cheat devices that you put your cartridge into and then spit out legendary Pokemon with, then everyone hates you at school. If you haven't paid attention to Pokemon in a while, and you're only back for Sinnoh remakes, Pokemon Legends, or Scarlet and Violet, GameShark and Action Replay have nothing on modern Pokemon cheats. This is PK Hex. It's a save modification hack that is more powerful than any other cheating program Pokemon has ever seen. A single hacked console can put out thousands of hacked Pokemon per day, and there's countless people doing this to scam children into buying cheats. Okay, so where's the problem? It seems pretty cut and dry. No one can argue that hacking your console and using external software to modify the save file isn't cheating. Except, tons of people do. And that brings us to why the cheating problem has gotten so out of control. The reason most of the Pokemon community cheats is because they have convinced themselves that cheating is okay. Now this is where things get complicated, so I hope I don't lose you here, because Pokemon is in a very unique place when it comes to competition. If you just go out, catch 6 of your favorite Pokemon, and throw them into battle, you will lose 100% of the time against a competitive player because your Pokemon stats will just be worse. If I was to make up an example so that more people understand, it would be like in Street Fighter if the opponent's Ryu had 3 times more damage, 5 times more health, and access to more supers than you just because they've played Ryu for 10 hours longer than you have. Yeah, it sounds stupid, but if you don't like the rules, you don't have to play the game. And according to the devs, training Pokemon is just as important as the battle itself. A Pokemon's stats can vary wildly depending on how it's trained. There's 3 values that can modify a Pokemon's stats, and it can take hours to get a single perfect Pokemon. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here with this Charizard stats, and all of these values can be manipulated through in-game actions, with a perfect Pokemon being one that has its stats fully realized. So instead of spending hundreds of hours practicing to make sure your aim is flawless in an FPS, or getting macro down in 10 CS per minute in League of Legends, you need to spend dozens to hundreds of hours before you can even enter your first competitive Pokemon battle and stand a chance. The story of a Pokemon game takes about 30 hours, to position yourself in the post-game takes another 20 hours or so, IV prep, which is going into those crazy stat modifications, that can take up to 20 hours, and then each Pokemon after that can take an additional 1 to 2 hours, or maybe even more, depending on how rare the Pokemon is and how specific its stats need to be adjusted. If for some reason this interests you and you want to learn more about competitive Pokemon stats, check out the description. This video is going to be long enough. Now, is it a flawed system? Arguably. However, every competitive esport and even sport demands thousands of hours of practice and work to become elite. This is no different than other kinds of training. Now, thinking this is a tedious system doesn't excuse cheating. Doping isn't allowed in real sports because athletes want to save time on their recovery or fitness training. Pokemon should be no different. Also, Pokemon is a turn-based game. There's no physical barrier like high APM or reaction time, so being the best Pokemon player just means you're winning at a game of knowledge. You need to know every Pokemon's type matchup, moveset, and stat distribution. You also need to memorize as many damage calculations as possible in a game with over 900 creatures, each with 4 moves and a dozen ways to train their stats. Every bit of knowledge gap puts your opponent at a disadvantage. Here's where it comes back to cheating. Most competitive players believe nothing about training a Pokemon matters, and the game should only exist in a vacuum of perfection, even though it explicitly breaks the rules. The use of external devices to modify or create items or Pokemon in a player's battle team is expressly forbidden, regardless of whether the Pokemon or items belong to that player or were traded for. What's shocking are the arguments from people that support hacking in the Pokemon community. I'm not even strawmanning when I say they say things like, but having more time is an advantage, so not having a job is cheating? The refusal to accept the rules goes so far as attacking legitimate players and even calling them idiots for wasting their time following the rules. Any modification of a Pokemon generates a rule-breaking advantage. End of story. But how are all those top players mentioned earlier getting away with it? Well, that's where we get to problem number 2. The Pokemon Company is corrupt and refuses to punish cheating players because all of their top players use hacked Pokemon. The cheating has gotten so bad that tournament organizers have to be complicit or else they effectively lose the entire scene. Yeah, it's that corrupt. Don't worry, I've got receipts. So now that I've talked about how cheating works in Pokemon, we can finally talk about the long history of top players cheating in the Pokemon Video Game Championship Series. And when I say top players, I mean top players. National champions, world qualifiers, top 32 finishers at Worlds, even world champions. They believe hacking a Pokemon doesn't create an advantage as long as the Pokemon stats are possible. If a hacked Pokemon has achievable stats in-game, it is considered a legal hack by the Pokemon community. Yes, it's gotten that stupid. Yes, a majority of the competitive Pokemon community believes you can hack your game to generate a Pokemon against the rules and have it not be cheated. This lie about calling cheated Pokemon legal has been massively adopted by the Pokemon community as an excuse to not play the game as intended. Pokemon content creators and influencers have embraced this lie and promoted cheating because it's easier to make YouTube money from videos by hacking your game instead of making real content. And if you try to stand up for Pokemon legitimacy, you'll be flooded with comments saying it isn't cheating, legal hacks are okay, or that it doesn't give an advantage, which we've already disproven earlier on in this video, but that's not going to stop people from commenting it on this video. Ignorant kids will immediately click dislike and leave the video without accepting facts, so they won't even make it this far to know they're being played. But only 20% of people will probably make it this far into the video anyway, so maybe I'm playing myself. Either way, let's prove that saying there's no advantage to hacking is a lie, and we can even use Pokemon 2016 World Champion Wolfey as an example. Here is the exact Raichu that Wolfey used at that World Championship. He posted it himself. The problem is, this Raichu is a special event, so all of that stat and training stuff we talked about earlier, it actually gets more complicated because the Pokemon cannot be trained in specific ways to get perfect stats in a short amount of time. Everything has to be rolled RNG. So it's a 1 in 32 chance of getting a perfect stat. A Pokemon has 6 stats. It also has a nature attribute, which adds a 1 in 25 chance. Now, I am re-uploading the video because of a small inaccuracy I forgot to fix, where the Pikachu is not 1 in 25 billion, but it's actually 1 in 25 million because you get 2 guaranteed IVs, so 2 of those 1 in 32 chances. However, this changes nothing about Wolf using a hacked Raichu because the odds are still humanly impossible, and his teammates had multiple of them, he had multiple of them, and when you look at the actual requirements of getting the Pikachu, it's also pretty absurd. You had a limited time to register for the event, participate in a 3-day window, become an eligible player, sign in to get your code, and then redeem that code within 2 months by October 29, 2015. By the way, Pokemon Worlds happened in August of 2016. And then to get one, it would be 400,000 hours of soft resetting your game. And then he gave away a second Raichu for free on his Twitter to celebrate his World Championship. So not only did he get the God RNG once, but he got it twice. And his friend, who ran the exact same team, also had a Raichu. He placed third. And there's even strong speculation about how his friend threw the semifinals to put Wolf Glick in the finals because they were training buddies and it was all about getting Wolf Glick a World Championship title. Again, the corruption kind of goes deep. But it's almost like having a Pokemon that's realistically impossible to obtain gives a competitive advantage, especially when that Raichu ended up being the ace for both of their teams, but it keeps on going even further. So here we have a legendary Pokemon. Once again, the training is going to be a bit different for them, but overall, what you need to know is that it would take about 2,100 to 21,000 hours to obtain the single Pokemon for the team because of how, like, catching legendary Pokemon works and some other quirks about the game. So yeah, if you're not hacking Pokemon, you're at an objective stat disadvantage. And he had another legendary Pokemon's team. This is a trend among the highest performing trainers. Pokemon that are statistically improbable to obtain. Yet they all have multiple of them. Weird. Oh yeah, and after I made this video, it got like super duper extra proven that Wolfey is a cheater because his officially posted team from Players Cup 2 had a hacked Moltres in it. It cannot exist through gameplay because it had impossible data values that could only be discovered through data mining. He was also data mined and caught cheating again with a hacked Groudon and a hacked Incineroar. So yeah, if you want the deeper dive on Wolfey, go into the playlist in my description or just look around the channel. You can find tons of proof that Wolfey VGC is a cheater and a fraud. But now we can finally get to the anniversary invites from earlier. Even for less extreme examples, having hundreds of hours of game time over a legitimate player will create an objective advantage in battle since Pokemon is a knowledge game based on experience. The hacking player will have a massive advantage in trying out dozens of new teams and strategies when the legitimate player might only have time for 1 or 2 teams. So you remember all those numbers we talked about near the beginning of the video where it can take up to 100 hours to make your first Pokemon team? Well, that's just a team of 6 Pokemon. To be competitive, you constantly need to be adapting, changing strategies, mixing up Pokemon. The meta changes very rapidly, especially because of all the hacking, so you need to put in dozens of more hours of team building in just a couple of weeks, or every couple of weeks. So if you are somehow still in denial about the cheating problem in Pokemon, let me introduce you to Kurt. He is the maker of Pika Hex, the hacking program. He data mined the invitational teams and found they all used hacked Pokemon except for the Japanese players. This is something else I've done a more detailed video about, and Kurt has done multiple long Twitter threads fully explaining how these Pokemon have impossible data values that can only be achieved with hacking. So the maker of the hack has confirmed the fact that these former world champions have cheated. Let's knock him down. 2013 Pokemon World Champion Arashimadi. Well, Kurt proved that at the Invitational, his team was hacked. But not only that, if we take a visit to the 2013 team he used, he had a team of shiny Pokemon. Well, this is Generation 5. We're talking old school Pokemon, so it gets even more difficult to get a competitive Pokemon as well as a shiny. Shiny is 1 in 8,000 odds. Getting the perfect IVs or individual values of that Pokemon. Once again, we have a team full of 1 in billions of odds Pokemon making it to the finals. Even if you played Pokemon Black and White for thousands of hours, you wouldn't have a team with the same stat points as his. And that's before the 1 in 8,000 odds. And this one might hurt. Even if you don't follow Pokemon, you've probably heard of Seijun Park, the mad lad that won Worlds with Pachirisu. Well, here's an Imager post explaining how Pokemon Seijun Park has used in the past were impossible, and Cafotix backed it up. It's also sad to see that the Pokemon Company is fairly oblivious to hacking in certain regards, that they publish and celebrate an impossible hacked Pokemon. So let's see what else Kurt has found. Well, Wolfey used a hacked team for the Global Players Cup 2, which he won, and he also cheated at the Invitational. So this confirms Wolfey to have used hacked Pokemon at multiple events. It's a history of habitual cheating, and also lying about it, because he tried to defame me by saying he didn't cheat, when the maker of the hack has confirmed he cheated. What else is there to say? 2018 Pokemon Champion Paul Ruiz. This is another thing I've done a video on. He left his game in another country and then magically had a full team of new Pokemon the next day. Now, someone might try to make the argument that, well, Pokemon's an online game and trading is a big thing about Pokemon, so someone from another country could just get his game, trade it into a fresh copy, and then he has his team for Worlds. Problem is, you can analyze his teams before and after the event, or before and during the event, and you can see that they were completely different Pokemon. There was not enough time physically to obtain his new team. Now, because of COVID, there hasn't been a World Championship in 2021 or 2020, but there have been global online competitions called Players Cup. And the winners of those Players Cup ended up making it into the 25th Anniversary Invitational, like Santino. Well, Kurt data mined the team published by the Pokemon Company, and we can confirm, hacked. We also have Renzo Navarro, the Pokemon Players Cup 4 champion, which effectively makes him the most recent online Pokemon World Champion, and cheated. Now, this only leaves 2014 National Champion and 3-time consecutive World Champion Ray Rizzo, who has an infamous history of cheating, because at that National Championship event, he had physically impossible Pokemon. The Dream Ball was introduced in Generation 5 and was only usable in Generation 5 at the time. In Pokemon X and Y, a Generation 6 game, he had a Generation 6 Pokemon, Aegislash, in a Dream Ball. This can only be obtained through hacking. It is impossible to time travel. And if you get even more complicated with which Pokemon can be in which Pokeball, he had other Pokemon that can't be physically obtained. His team was hacked. There's also old chat logs of him saying there's nothing wrong with hacking Pokemon, and look at that, people defending cheating even in 2013. The problem goes deep. Anyway, he was hired by the Pokemon Company. And then he was invited to the 25th anniversary as a surprise guest and got a major feature. Another Pokemon Company hire is Cybertron, who is a longtime top VGC contender who also used unimaginably improbable Pokemon. This Cresselia is the same odds as the Raichu, times 8,000 because it's shiny. Twice. If we stay in the early days of Pokemon, we find Ray Rizzo vs. Wolfey in the World Finals, with clearly hacked Pokemon. It might not be as many zeros as Dream cheating, but it's undeniable at this point. It's almost like we can trace the history of how cheating gives a competitive advantage in Pokemon. And that really leaves the question, how do they keep getting away with this? Well, here's a tournament organizer telling people how to cheat and not get caught. The same tournament organizers have also admitted to looking the other way when top players were caught pirating the games. Yes, video game piracy is ignored if you're a top player.
Getting access to games early, especially when it's the game that you competitively play, and then posting it on your Twitter when you know judges and people like that follow you and stuff like that, probably not a good idea. Maybe understand why some of them kind of give up or throw in the towel and, are seduced by the easy mode of hacking. So that, you understand, all right, it's not boo-hoo the poor players, but it's more like understand the reasoning behind it so that we can be a little bit more, not sympathetic, but kind of not judgmental.
Now, I know I keep on saying, hey, if you want more information, watch the video, but if you only watch one video of mine after this, make it that one. It's my second best video I've ever made behind this one. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, share, please. As you can see, this is an insane amount of work and digging. This is corruption. Wolfey has become the poster child of VGC. If the fact of him being one of the most cheatingest players in the history of Pokemon ever got traction, it'd be over for VGC competitive. Somehow, some of the cheaters started working for Pokemon even, and the result is that every non-Japanese world champion has been a confirmed cheater. Kurt has published his hack check for the Pokemon World Championship, and it also includes the entire VGC 2023 season, so we have over 850 rental teams given a hack check, and this is the season finale of Chris Brown's Nightmare. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with all your friends, comment your thoughts down below. The only way change happens is by getting this video pushed in the algorithm and making sure everyone knows what's going on. Also, retweet Kurt, follow me on Twitter at VerlusWolf. We have to keep the pressure on so all of this cheating can no longer be ignored by the director of global esports and events at Pokemon, as well as just the Pokemon company in general. Now let's take a quick look at the overall stats where we can see an overwhelming amount of Japanese players have legal teams, but most English rental teams are hacked. There's also a couple things to note that just because a team passes hack check doesn't mean it's not hacked. You can still cheat and have it not be caught by Kurt's hack check because Kurt has been doing this for over 2 years, and there's a lot of information about what is getting Pokemon caught. So starting with the 25th Invitational back in August 2021, we saw that everyone from the Invitational but the Japanese players were using hacked Pokemon. Also, Wolf got busted for cheating after he got busted for cheating, so a lot of like the sloppiness has been removed. And it's kind of funny how like since this happened, oh yeah, Wolf hasn't gotten caught because he's got really good cheaters on his side. There's also a long list of things not to do if you don't want to get caught, because so many players have gotten caught cheating in so many different ways. Maximum scale, other flaws, teams mutated off of each other with height, weight, scale sharing, and then some other implausible things. This goes back to where we're just seeing like a lot of hacking getting caught this way. Also trash bites, so people getting a lot more careful so they don't get caught cheating. And then if you know your team is made illegitimately, you're not going to post your rental team for fear of the hack check. So we don't know like how many rental teams are out there that are cheated that haven't been posted, but it's a really bad look when you still see more hacked rental teams regardless of all of that. 856 teams is a hefty data set, more diverse, and triple the number we collected for last year's Sword and Shield VGC series. Like before, there's been a bit of extra data analysis of competitive trends, so I'm going to move over to the Google Doc. Flashbang warning in 3, 2, 1. Let's see what's going on. Regulation D was the most buzzing in the number of rental teams that were uploaded, both for ladder play as well as Worlds. Looking back at this year and years prior, we see a 50-50 split of teams being illegally modified, and that includes prizes and awards from VGC events. But as we've talked about, just because the green check is here doesn't mean they are not cheating. So we have VGC, Gavin Michaels. Heads up to the people going to Pittsburgh, most failed hack checks were due to Legends Arceus home trackers getting wiped from trade bots. So telling people how to get away with cheating for future VGC events with a new hack check. Also admitting to using hacked Vascular Legion and getting busted with hacked Pokemon. And we know that Wolfey and Marcus are career-long cheaters. So let's talk about the hack check. This year at Worlds, Pokemon Company upped their game in a simple way with a new hack check. They were able to disqualify a lot of competitors for transfer Pokemon missing their home tracker. However, we don't know what else was missed when it came to hack Pokemon. And now we get into the big one. First place, Shohei, was not without sin. A pivotal Pokemon, his Amoonguss, was modified to have 0 attack IVs. So the Pokemon World Champion couldn't even get a legitimate 0 IV Amoonguss, which also kind of shows why so many players got disqualified for having 0 IVs on legendary Pokemon. So regular Pokemon that originally had 18 IVs in attack was modified. Now, this makes the data even more interesting because a lot of people are default NPCs and they say, well, of course Japanese players don't hack their teams. It's illegal in Japan, but that doesn't stop them. And anyone that's gone on the battle stadium knows that it's mostly Japanese players and there's a lot of hacked teams just on the ladder. So no, the law is not preventing Japanese players from cheating in Pokemon. And here's a little bit of extra details. Pokemon Company does not check for raid RNG correlations, even though it takes about 1 millisecond to calculate. Hopefully no Among Us mystery gift in the future, because it would be based off of this hacked Pokemon, even though it's kind of a crucial thing. So most likely we're going to see another Among Us mystery gift event, and it's going to be based off of Shohei's hacked Among Us. And we can kind of see like Kurt going through this, checking, oh, invalid, can't match the encounter because the RNG changes it to the proper values, and then the Pokemon shows as legal. Then we have a fun example, Tang's team, which beat Wolfglick in the final round of day 1. The 2 Max Layer Genies are missing their RNG correlation, 100% hacked. In day 2, this guy went 5-3, losing to Shohei, Michael, and Hirofumi. Wow, so this dude with a hacked team knocked Wolfglick out of Worlds, and then lost to 1st and 2nd place, and then someone else. But it just kind of shows the legendaries are hacked. Unfortunately, that's it for the Twitter thread. Now, don't leave the video just yet. We still have the analysis write-up to go through. But yeah, no like insanely unbelievable bombshells, no like crazy catches just yet. However, World Champion had hacked Pokemon, and then there was also some other hacking that was able to be discovered, and that was after a lot of players got disqualified for cheating to begin with. So, nothing has changed. Not optimistic for things changing going forward. At Worlds, Game Freak could have revealed new features with massive changes to accessibility, but they did not. Yeah, we didn't see that in the competitive trailer, and there wasn't also an announcement for like an official battle simulator with like Pokemon Battle Stadium Switch. Scarlet and Violet continue to have the same hurdles, and cheaters are going to cheat. So just as many people cheating as ever, if not more, despite the game being easier to get legitimate Pokemon. Downloading over 800 rental teams was no easy task, but fear not, we have automations. We can just feed the rental code IDs, and then we can judge the team quickly. Unlike Sword and Shield, the rental code data format does not include a 32-bit rental code upload ID, so we can't tell you the rate of rental code uploads at the rate per regulation. So that was the thing kind of going back to Pokemon Worlds last year, where we can see there was a huge amount of team sharing in the beginning of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then it started to taper off as the hack checks came in. Weird. I expect it to be similar to Sword and Shield, with a high initial rate that tapers off, followed by a small uptick with new regulations. Regulation D had a ton of players sharing their rentals, likely because obtaining the meta-centric Pokemon required playing and transferring from games other than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So that was like a note early on in this tweet thread about the uptick. Then we can also see like the pretty graphs and stuff. That goes back to this chart, which isn't just regional and international players. It also shows the regulation rental teams as well. So pretty much the same ratio of like hatch rental teams to non-hatch rental teams, but also people getting better with how they cheat their Pokemon. And then because it takes a while to get the transfer legendaries and the zero IVs and stuff, there were more rental teams so people could practice before committing to getting one of these Pokemon, even though no one in VGC did because they're all cheaters. After Worlds concluded, I definitely noticed the trend of non-Japanese players being reluctant to share their rental codes. So here's a breakdown of the rental team uploaded languages for the World Championship Series. Yeah, not a lot of English players, and then it was mostly Japanese. As we can see, about 2/3 of the players that shared their rental codes after the tournament were playing with the Japanese language. 90% were either Japanese or English. I expected a more diverse distribution, but this disparity is because Regulation D is not finished. We still have 2 upcoming events. Players are also fatigued from traveling to Worlds, or they fear the hack check. I always find it funny when players share PokePaste links, just the EVs and the movesets, or a screenshot of the rental code screen without the code. These don't benefit the community as they're unusable in the game. People want to playtest the teams, and I want to check them too. So yeah, another trend is posting the quote-unquote open team sheets instead of the rental code because they're scared of getting caught. So tons of players disqualified, countless players with hatched Pokemon removed at Worlds, and then the rest of them aren't sharing their rental codes. About a week before Worlds started, players received a strong recommendation to be wary about how they acquire their team. As players found out, their new hack check was able to find things not previously checked for. Quite a few players received team sheet errors for each hacked Pokemon that were disqualified, and if there were enough Pokemon removed from the team sheet, the player was disqualified from the tournament. So that's what I mean, where it's like we don't know how many people had just a Pokemon or 2 Pokemon removed because they were cheating, and then we'll never know how many were actually disqualified from the event, but it was a lot. So what happened? Trade bots were never intended to provide tournament-ready Pokemon. Bit of background, vast majority of trade bots are running Sysbot, an automated platform using PK Hex, with users being able to request trades from Discord or Twitch. These trade bots can create Pokemon. They can also modify Pokemon and copy them. Cheaters using trade bot Pokemon did not know that these trade bots can wipe home tracker data even if they were transferred legitimately. Trade bots are not usable in competition, so they got caught by the new hack check. And that's actually kind of a big thing going off of last year, because the world champion for 2022 used hacked Pokemon and had one of them from the trade bot. That's also a big argument that VGC players use now, is that, oh, the bots are so easy to access hacked Pokemon with that there's no advantage to cheating and there's no gating to getting hacked Pokemon. And then that's actually what got a lot of them banned. Great, awesome. Pokemon Company was also able to catch others with flaws I've discussed in previous tweets. These teams were not publicly shared. I enjoy watching the Worlds pairing pages with players suddenly dropping from the tournament. That was also some coverage we did at Pokemon Worlds. It was pretty wacky to see, and the Pokemon Company also has a little bit extra, so it's going to be interesting if they keep upping their hack check, or if there's actually just going to be a major announcement. Chris Brown needs to do something about how much cheating is going on their scene. I'll include a bunch of charts summarizing a bunch of trends. 508 EVs, 3 out of 3, all max PP up, continues to hold up for showing hacked Pokemon. One of the favorite memes in calling out generated teams is noticing the number of PP ups that a player has. Usual hallmark is overkill. Most moves do not need 3 out of 3, and users aren't going to waste the time applying all 72 of them. As always, 3 out of 3 PP ups does not indicate the team is hacked. These are just observations after a team has been labeled hacked. So yeah, like when a team is caught, it's like, oh, if they have 3 out of 3 PP ups, that means, yeah, it looks like holds up to being cheated. Yes, having max PP up on all of your Pokemon does not immediately mean you are cheating, but it is a good indicator with some other signs, such as previous cheating, other suspicious Pokemon, and then things we'll get into later. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is weird because you can buy PP ups, but it just kind of shows like people aren't even buying it, people aren't applying it normally. A lot of PP up usage just kind of shows the team is cheated. Which is even funnier in Pokemon Sword and Shield and earlier, where you see like people with max PP teams, even though it was harder to get the PP ups and then it was ridiculous in previous generations. So much like a full shiny team, very strong evidence, especially in the past. Same for 508 EVs, so I've been talking about this in Kurt's previous hack checks. It's also what tipped me off to Wolf being a cheater, where it's like, 508 EVs. Yeah, if you're just like naturally training teams, you're going to overcap into 510 a lot more often. Like, yeah, you can have a couple of 508 on your team and still be legitimate. But the thing is, PK Hex just defaults to 508 because those two EVs are just useless anywhere. And that is a big sign to find out if a team is cheated. And then we can kind of see the trends where natural team building more likely to be legal, and then unnatural team building more likely to be hacked, where if you just have all 6 Pokemon with 508 EVs, yeah, that's a cheater. The more that were from the trainer's OT, the less likely they were to be hacked, but still a large amount. A lot of players just like hacking in teams with their OT to make it look less suspicious, but still a lot. However, if you don't have any with your OT, then yeah, that is a hacked team. How many mints are used by players? So this is a no mint used chart, which means 6 Pokemon without a mint. Yeah, that's a hacked team. And then players that are using 6 or more, or 6, 5, 4 mints, looking to be legitimate. Now, this is really interesting. How many Pokemon were bred from an egg on a team? None. More likely to be legal. 1 more likely to be legal, and then it kind of like flips from there, which makes sense because much like hacking in a Pokemon with your OT to make it look more legitimate, people are just like hacking in Pokemon that look like they were hatched from eggs. And with the Regulation D, and also a lot of like unbreedable Pokemon like Paradox Pokemon and the legendary transfers and stuff, so the Pokemon on teams that can be bred are hacked in to look hatched, but that's still cheating. Big thanks to Anubis Sabuna Switch for her equivalent effort in the past year plus for the rental analysis. And then in closing, was there more cheating in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Definitely. Even though we see just under 50% of teams being noticeably hacked this time, we acknowledge that players outside of Japan are reluctant to share teams. Players have been emboldened to openly discuss ginning, as evidenced by the discourse we've seen on all social media. However, there could be a light at the end of the tunnel. Will cheating be more common in the next console? No. Excluding another monumental screw-up in console security, the community will never have widespread cheats on the next console. Yeah, the vulnerability on Switch, pretty bad. Also, that might change some of the arguments around like the Nintendo Switch lifespan, and they could be trying to rush out a new console so it won't have as many hacking problems. So yeah, that's pretty much it now. A lot of players are scared of getting caught hacking, so they're being a lot more careful with their cheated teams, or they are not sharing their teams at all, which means we have no way of figuring out if they're cheating or not. And this trend has continued, but also kind of shows that even though Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has gotten easier to make competitive Pokemon, minus the Terra Shard interaction, but just being able to buy PP up in mints is absolutely insane, and a lot of the other quality of life to just instantly making competitive Pokemon. Despite all that, more cheating than ever, and the trend is more cheating, more cheat defense, which is why we actually need to see Chris Brown and the Pokemon Company do something. So that's going to be like the next big news update if we get a statement from the Pokemon Company or a ban wave or something else like that. And maybe some rental team publishing from the next couple of regionals might show a couple of other cheaters. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Pokemon VGC 2022 World Champion Eduardo Cunha caught cheating by Cafotix. The Mad Lad has broken his silence on offering free hack checks to the Pokemon World's competitors, but I don't even think he expected to catch the world champion cheating once again, and he's breaking it down with a pretty cheeky tweet. So congratulations to Sabuna Switch, that's not Eduardo, for becoming a world champion Pokemon trainer. Eduardo's Calyrex was a clone that was obtained from her TradeBot thread in early April by Eduardo himself 2 weeks before closing. Besides knowingly using an illegal clone, the rest of his team is fine, but still using hacks. And the sweet, rewarding irony of cheaters in Pokemon, because the storyline developed that Eduardo has had the most dominant Pokemon Worlds run since Ray Rizzo did it a decade ago. Reminder, Ray Rizzo, also a cheater, and it was off the back of his Calyrex. So the one hacked Pokemon on his team being the one that defines his Worlds run. It's almost like cheating gives an advantage, because it does. You can't make this up. You can't write it any better, especially because the Pokemon Company hasn't been publishing teams. They haven't been doing the spotlights because everyone ends up getting caught as a hacker. We had what happened with Arash Amadi. In closing, his team is 100% hacked, and that's because the Pokemon Company published Arash's team, and it immediately backfired. The Pokemon Company tries to detach from that, but they still build a narrative around him that directly ties in to his hacking at Worlds. It's crazy. We also have a bit more of a breakdown. Since we now have the most recent World Champions rental team, we noticed that he used a Calyrex from Anubis with the ID that matched her trade thread. Sure enough, the OT and the trainer ID matched the specific Shadow Rider Calyrex set in her dumped Wooloo files. Eduardo himself requested the Calyrex on April 3rd, 2022. That's kind of like the next level of catching the hackers, where like, hey, free bot, and then tying it to the world champions and world competitors that are using it. He also requested a Blastoise and Regieleki, neither of which were in his final Worlds team. So even though the final Worlds team didn't have more hatched Pokemon, he has requested more hatched Pokemon from bots, knowingly hacking, and who knows how much of the other Pokemon he has used to train to gain an advantage were hacked, and how much of the other Pokemon on his team were also hacked, just done in a way that couldn't be detected. Kurt did it again, bringing just an unexpected way of catching hackers. There are also automated trade bots that trade when the requester provides a competitive set rather than a Wooloo. These Pokemon are generated per the requester's specifications from scratch and are not clones. Multiple players have used Pokemon from these trade bots many times, created to match their OT details. So also many other VGC players getting caught hacking because of using a trade bot. When Kurt initially announced that he was going to be doing this for Pokemon Worlds 2022, I wondered if he had a poisoned pill up his sleeve. Seems like he did. Pretty crazy stuff, and this is just kind of following the other free hack checks we have seen, where the Salt Lake City regional winner, first place, caught using hacked Pokemon. We also have Wolfey VGC hacking multiple online events. We have Players Cup 2, and we also have the 25th anniversary getting caught with indefensibly, undeniably hacked Pokemon and cheating, but also the 25th anniversary using former world champions and also just like top finishers. Had pretty much everyone cheat except for the Japanese players. Again, it's illegal for them, so good that they're playing it safe. And then also the Players Cup 4 was just a complete hack fest where pretty much everyone in the top, and then mysteriously after this, after pretty much everyone in the Pokemon Players Cup 4 got caught with hacked Pokemon after Wolf got caught cheating, even though he's been exposed cheating multiple times before this, they just stopped posting their rental teams, so it became harder to catch, and they also got a bit more wise about how they hack their Pokemon, and even after all this, the world champion has still been caught cheating. I'm probably going to have to make another video breaking down like the extended post of hacked Pokemon because there's some other really good information. You don't need to data mine a team to find some stray RNG values to determine that someone is hacking, but this is a philosophy I've carried for the last decade where yeah, full team of shiny Pokemon, of course that's hacked. No one that's putting hundreds of hours into training and then suspiciously arrives with flawless shiny Pokemon is doing it legitimately. So we have other notes that are kind of popping up about this. 508 EVs, completely flawless, same game. A competitive player likely isn't new, so why should their team be? They've been playing for a while, they have a stock from prior games. Yeah, that also makes sense. Same day, that's a big one. All of these teams, all these rental teams that are being posted, all the Pokemon are being obtained on the same day? That doesn't add up. Everything PP'd up. Acquiring 72 of these is torture and also not necessary. It is for like perfect competitiveness, like having a 0 IV dark type Pokemon in the Galarian Moltres. It's not going to matter, but it's going to be like that 0.1% just in case efficiency that a legitimate player is not going to do. Everything shiny, everything with perfect nature, because some things can't be synchronized, and sometimes like you're going to use a mint. If you haven't used a single mint on your Pokemon in your team, little sus. So a lot of that kind of adding up for hack checking. Also breaking down rental code uploads, which is something we just talked about. Weird how it's tapered off, you know? It's interesting to note there was a huge amount of team sharing when the game first came out, likely because tons of people playing the game on release and players hadn't accumulated enough in-game resources to have perfect teams, so sharing helped to compensate. But then, as the player base decreased and those remaining built up their resources, teams became less shared. Upload rate stayed steady from March 2020 into June 2021 and started tapering off as there were no tournaments until 2022. When events returned in February, the rate shot up as players developed the meta. So there we see it's like, oh, events are back. So yeah, we got a nice little bump up in team sharing. As the rate shot up, players developed the meta, and then it went back to a low rate. With many tournaments happening, we should be seeing a higher rate of rental uploads, but we see otherwise because players didn't want to reveal their spreads, which hasn't stopped them before, and players with illegal teams were spooked into posting PokePaste or codeless due to my previous tweets starting in August last year, and codeless is another big one. So let's go back to the main thread. So that brings us to the overall stats of hacked Pokemon. Japanese players are the least likely to have hacked Pokemon. Probably has something to do with the law that makes it illegal to modify or switch or have hacked in-game content. A guy got fined like thousands of dollars and faced potential jail time for genning Pokemon for someone else, and just having a hack switch is illegal. And also, Game Freak has made it in the past where if you're caught hacking at like the Japan National Championships, you have to return your prize money. And you also face, punishment, like a ban. English players, majority caught cheating. And just because this is green and says legal doesn't mean their team isn't illegal. Just means it was hacked in a way that was undetectable, which is going to be more likely because of all the exposes that have happened. Simplified Chinese, very hacked. Europeans, oh, I broke it down back in 2016. There's like a European player hacking cabal going on out there. The third place European national champion, was bragging about and defending hacking and using Pika Hex on Twitter and stuff, and I've exposed all that. Also, there was... oh man, what was his name? I guess I gotta pull it up for the video, huh? The video is top VGC players cheating everywhere, non-stop hacking at Pokemon Worlds, because it wasn't just Wolfey VGC at 2016, it was just the deeper you went, the more hacking players you found, and a lot of it focused on Escuro VGC, who then hacked Wolf's Raichu to give away, similar to how Wolf did it, and then we have the #1 Pika Hex, like Spanish distributor or player or something, but it's a picture of him at a VGC event and also has VGC in his name, which is kind of like another thing that you could just kind of see all the signals coming together and a lot of craziness. So am I surprised that Europe is like the dirtiest region? No. And then Korea, not as much of a sample size, 0-4. And by the way, as unfortunate as it is, your boy Sejun Park, not a legitimate player, all that Pachirisu stuff from a cheater. So, great. My rental team dataset is 9 times as big as the previous time I tweeted about cheating in VGC, so we can analyze the overall rental teams. That then goes into this massive write-up, so all kinds of cool stuff. And then overall rental code reporting is down compared to before I started analyzing teams this time last year. I wonder why. Like, we have VGC coming back. The world is not on lockdown. Pokemon World's the only Sword and Shield competitive event. But rental teams are down? International content creators and players are now more likely to be sharing pastes and screenshots or abstain from sharing completely. Suspicious. By the way, your boy Wolfey, where's his team? Seems like good old cheater Wolf Glick has something to hide and is scared of getting caught once again, especially again at such a large world championship event. And I love this meme. This is worthless. So showing a picture without the rental team code, yeah, that's worthless. You're just effectively sharing a Pokepaste, which again aren't the Pokemon you used at the event. So this is not a point towards being legitimate. Like, oh, see, I'm sharing my team. I'm sharing the Pokemon I use. Nothing suspicious here. It's actually points towards cheating. Usual flaws in modified data are still the same, missing raid seeds and home trackers. Since some players have posted multiple rentals, we see the same regenerated team data like last year's Regieleki. P.S. Blocking me on Twitter won't stop me from getting your rentals. Just kind of showing the same player with weird, inconsistent teams the entire time. So, February International Challenge, Korean Nationals, and Worlds, Self-Bred, 3 separate, 6IV, and Incineroar all have different player IDs. Why? Incineroar 1 shares EC with Charizard. Impossible. Safe to assume everything is hacked. And then Regieleki is a trainer ID, secret ID sharing hack. Has the OT name, but uses the TID secret ID of other player name that is sourcing teams. Yeah, if we go back to everyone getting busted at Players Cup 4, lot of suspicious Regielekis. Luke's team was obviously generated via Pika Hex's auto legality mod, 3 flawless legendaries all captured on the same day, everything 508 EVs. Wow, you have the maker of Pika Hex saying that 508 EVs is a sign of hacking, because it is. Because if you train naturally, you're going to take over into 510, but the program is going to discard the 2 useless EVs. Will it happen on one Pokemon every once in a while? Sure. Will it be a full team? No. Israel's team has 4 sharing the same height and weight and the same encryption constant, so that has Regieleki, and Renzo's Global Expedition team was posted to Twitter. This is the 3rd different flawless Regieleki. This time it's not shiny. Why not repurpose the prior ones? Note that the original trainer is 0, prior hacks, usual meme, height and weight values. So, yeah, Regieleki, just when it had its moment, because Crown Tundra, it's hard to get legendaries for yourself, apparently. Just hack them all in. Reminder that Renzo is a very decorated VGC player. He was the Players Cup 4 champion, which is also why it's weird that he has so many hatched Regieleki, was invited to the 25th Players Cup Invitational, where he was busted for hatched Pokemon. Latin International Championship top 16 twice, regional champion 3 times, and then other champion accolades and world championship qualifications. Almost like cheating gives a massive competitive advantage, and that's why you see it at the top so often. Crazy. Neat looking at legitimate teams. More often than not, these teams source Pokemon from many games outside of Sword and Shield. So that goes into the other thing we've talked about. This is indicative that it's still not easy for players to obtain everything they need without outside game accumulation or external help. So what this means is that utilizing the new gameplay feature that was introduced with the DLC of going to the battle tower and then having a Pokemon home or like a transfer Pokemon be competitively viable with the battle stamp is still necessary, even though Generation 8 brought so much competitive quality of life. So the people that tried to dismiss cheating by saying like, well, it's so easy in Sword and Shield, it can't give an advantage anymore. Wrong. That legitimate players are actually like bringing over their legitimate Pokemon they've been using for a while, and then you're just seeing like all these teams popping up for Worlds being hacked because it's complete inorganic behavior in multiple ways. Then we have our post about the World Champion hacking, and in closing, nothing has changed. I'm not optimistic for things changing going forward. Man, it's bad when the maker of the hack is saying that. And yeah, as you can tell, my optimism has been fading for a while. Wolfey VGC, dead to rights. People still try to defend him. He still gets away with lying. It's absurd. Pokemon community is disgusting. Pokemon Company International is corrupt. I've proven that time and time again. Tournament organizers defending video game piracy and covering for cheaters, and then nothing is done, even though it's so blatant and so just obvious. At Worlds, Game Freak could have revealed new features with massive changes to accessibility, but they did not. So let's talk about the competitive trailer, just kind of showing competitive things. Again, just kind of playing blind to the whole situation. Scarlet and Violet will likely have the same hurdles, and cheaters gonna cheat. So that's what we have. Gonna break it down more. I wonder if we're gonna get like names and individuals coming out, because I don't know who this is. I guess we can look up Korean Nationals first place. After a little bit of searching, it seems to be this guy. So I guess, yeah, blocking me on Twitter isn't going to do anything. There's his rental team. And there's like the hacked Pokemon he uses. So 2021, 2022 Korean champion. So dominant run through cheating, and Pokemon Global Exhibition second. Wow, you keep finding all this scum floating to the top. Crazy. So yeah, it's gonna get crazier. I hope we start seeing some names getting published. That way there's like a finger to point to where it's like, world champion, caught cheating. This guy, caught cheating. Renzo, caught cheating. You know, all the top players. Do something, Pokemon. Let's make that the hashtag. Even though it's so late in the video, 5% of people are watching, and it's not gonna get any traction. But yeah, at least the information's still getting out there. And I'm gonna keep covering it. Kurt's gonna keep covering it. We can pray something eventually gets done. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. This is going to be such a weird video to make because I have to break this down for multiple audiences. Now what happened with my 2016 Pokemon Worlds coverage is those videos got a lot of views, like 200, 300, 500,000 views. So what that means is that the general gaming audience, you know, everyone knows about Pokemon, especially now after Pokemon Go, but even before Pokemon Go, everyone is familiar with Pokemon Away. If they see something Pokemon that just tickles their nostalgia just right, they're going to click on that video. So if they hear about like a cheating scandal or a Worlds Pokemon scandal, even if they generally have no interest in Pokemon, they're going to watch the video, and that's why I kind of have to make this video to where it's understandable for everyone. But then it gets weirder, because once we actually get into the Pokemon community of the people that know what I'm going to be talking about, it's already split right there with extreme levels of bias. That currently, the competitive scene in Pokemon is majority cheaters. It's hard to explain, it's hard to describe, because no other game has this, no other sport has this, no other aspect of life has this. You know what happened to don't lie, cheat, and steal? That morality is completely gone in the Pokemon community, and there's more cheating than there is just legitimate play. So that's where that other split is going to come into. That the people that support cheating, they're automatically going to dislike, write off this video, bot it, do whatever they can to suppress the information of the 2018 Pokemon World Champion using hacked Pokemon. The legitimate players, they actually get attacked. They are in the minority. They get suppressed and put down by the hackers and cheaters in the community. That is the madness that we're talking about. And it seems like Pokemon is just completely lost at this point. I don't think there's any other way of saying it, because you look at the top 16 players, you look at the top 32 players, you look at the majority of the world's qualifiers, cheaters. Majority of them. Almost all of them. Using hacked Pokemon, save modification, cheating, playing against the rules. I have videos on this. It's just indisputable at this point. And now it just kind of gets further proven right here. We have Ray Rizzo going back to the Dream Ball Aegis Slash at Nationals. Well, that's a 3-time world champion. Uses hacked Pokemon. We have Sejun Park. There's like an Imager post out there, and also like a couple other things about how he used, was it Pokesave or at least Ginning? Like, he had illegal Pokemon IV spreads that are impossible to get through natural game generation because of RNG and stuff. So he had illegal Pokemon spreads in the 5th generation, and then some dubious behavior in the 6th generation. So Pachirisu guy, he is out as well, as much as that blew up to the casual audience. Wolf Glick, caught with hacked Pokemon, caught distributing hacked Pokemon, also had a statistically pretty much impossible team. And then we get to 2018, and it's just too suspicious. Like, the team, there's no other way of describing it, and that's what this video is going to be about. So already the haters have clicked off this video. The VGC community, which is already a majority hackers that looks out for their own, is going to defend this guy to the ends of the earth. So now we're just going to break down what ended up happening, and I'm going to support these wild claims I made in the beginning. Well, this should end it right here. So it finally happened. After being paranoid about one day it would be true, I finally can say I left my 3DS at my country, send help. So the day before he competes at Worlds, the day of the Worlds, he arrives 6 in the morning, realizes he left his DS at home, probably charging on the desk or something. His panic made him blind to his biggest fear, no DS, which means no Pokemon team, which means everything is worked for, just doesn't have it. Now, this is where it's like, I'm not being the bad guy, because like it feels wrong to say, well, like, yeah, sucks to be you. But that's just the fact of it. Just because you forgot your DS at home doesn't mean you're suddenly allowed to cheat to get your team back. It's a mistake, it happens, sucks, that's life, that's fair competitive play. There's no other way of putting it. But this isn't it. It's not just this tweet. We have a lot of evidence to be breaking down. I mean, that's already something strange right there. So you just can't put together a competitive team in 24 hours. Maybe if you didn't sleep. Maybe, like, not even from a fresh DS. But also there's competitors around. So maybe going to be able to scrap together a team. But at the same time, they're not going to have all these spares. They're not going to have all this stuff ready to put together a competent Worlds level team in such a short amount of time. Now, one thing that I found interesting is that his wife could have traded him the Pokemon. You know, this is almost dream come true. You know, he talks about his wife. Once my wife asked me, why do you keep competing? Don't you make your dream come true? Last year we made top 8. Yeah, that was my dream then, but I'm going to be the champion one day. That's why I keep trying. So, you know, this was after he made it to top cut. He was super happy and stuff. But I mean, that's the thing, like, this was from 6 a.m. on the 24th, which means that he had a full day. His wife comes home from work, finds his DS. He either buys a straight up DS, because if I had to, I'd buy a 2DS. I'd get anything to where I could compete. I would go walk to the nearest GameStop, get a DS if I didn't even have, like, if I had cheap money, or I could beg, you know? If you didn't even have the money for that, you spent all of your money on, like, travel and stuff, there's several hundred players at Worlds that are willing to support you and give you, like, $5 each, and then you can buy a DS or something. So you get a fresh copy of the game, you make it far enough to where you can trade and stuff, and then you get ready for competitive. That sounds fine and dandy. So then the wife could just pick it up, they do the Wi-Fi trade, and then he gets his full team back. But the thing is, he used a completely fresh team. And we're going to get into that later. So, the thing that busted him was Pokeballs. Big shock, because that's usually what catches all the hackers, that we have this right here. Top 16, Worlds player, caught hacking, VGC cheating, play Pokemon. This video, dislike botted by the VGC community, can't get the truth out that you have top Worlds competitors cheating and then being defended by Pokemon professors and tournament organizers and officials and judges and stuff like that. But this Pokemon's completely impossible. Incineroar and a Premier Ball cannot exist 100%, absolutely. There is no way that you could jigger the game mechanics to make it a possibility. Only exists through save modification, which is against the rules. And it's shiny, and the rest of his team was shiny, and then everything else. So, complete hack team, just showing off with the impossible odds and whatnot. That led to this video, in a way. It also led to the sweep. Tired of these Verless videos targeting VGC players, tournament organizers? Do us all a favor, breed your Mons and Balls. Breed your Mons and Balls, breed your Mons and Balls, because the thing is, if it's a non-Pokeball Pokemon, there's a chance that it could accidentally be genned, PK Hex, created, hacked, save, modified, whatever, in an improper Pokeball, which will show that it is impossible. Like, the Pokemon cannot exist, it can only exist through hacking. Cheating occurred, it's illegal no matter what you do. Even if you hack in a Pokemon that has possible stats, possible ability, everything is just like a Pokemon that you bred and train naturally, 100% against the rules, 100% illegal, not allowed. So the tournament organizer, in response to this, said, breed all your Mons in Pokeballs. And that's kind of the immediate response, is that like, hey, Realistify can't catch me if all my Pokemon are genned, hacked, in Pokeballs. And then that's coming from these tournament organizers, who I did a great video on, man. This is one of my favorite, maybe the favorite video I've made on the entire channel. And these tournament organizers, they're mad. They defend piracy. You know, one of them goes, hey, yeah, we follow you guys, and you shouldn't be tweeting about pirating the game. Instead of punishing them, banning the players, you don't actually take it to Nintendo and be like, hey, we got proof this guy's pirating, and we work for Pokemon. No, just lets it go. Just lets it go, which is one of the strangest things. And then they try to shame legitimate players by saying it's cheating to know IVs, the individual values of Pokemon, because we're not supposed to know that, even though I whip out a strategy guide, a book that you could buy from the official Pokemon company that talks about IVs. And then in-game, there's also IVs and stuff. So all these hidden features that are supposed to be only understood through hacking and data mining the game, the judges are trying to shame that to make hacking okay. They defend cheaters throughout the video. It's pretty disgusting, because that's organizers, professors, judges, people that are supposed to be enforcing the rules, saying, don't get caught cheating. So, what does that... Also we have this, you know, and then everyone's just working together. So, what happens? Leaves his DS at home, he hits up someone, which means there's multiple players. There are multiple players at Worlds, top Worlds competitors, that have PK hacks on them at the tournament. And one thing that encourages this is the actual system, that you can change your teams between days. So day 1 is going to be through CP, and then day 2 is a direct invite. Well, the day 1 players that actually cut into day 2, you can change your team from day 1 into day 2. Now, naturally, unless you actually bring like just all the Pokemon in the world, like every possibility of every combo of Pokemon, to then swap your team and then get ready, that's just not how it's going to be. It's going to be hacking, because what you want to do is you want to change your team, because you're going to get scouted. Everyone is going to battle and know your team, and then that means it's going to be relayed to all the other players, and you're going to be at a disadvantage if you run the same thing going from day 1 into day 2. Also, the meta develops. There's a World's meta that is shown day 1, maybe some information about day 2 players' teams gets out, and then you need to adapt on the fly to what is being demanded at that specific event. Even though the meta could have been different minutes before and minutes after the tournament, what happens at Worlds is going to be its own ecosystem, and instead of actually having to put in the hours and days, because you only have a few hours and you need to sleep at some point so you're at your top competitive strength going into the next day, even then, the players that show up, if they have a qualification for day 2, they're modifying their teams as the event is happening day 1, adjusting to exactly what they're seeing on stream and hearing from the tournament floor. Best way of doing that? Same modification. Instantly hacking, cheating your game, and then getting the Pokemon that you're looking for, since you don't have enough time to change your team day 1 into day 2, and this is proven because people just change their teams like that, and it's also shown that people that have hacked DSs, that people that have save modification, all that stuff, they've been able to get into tournaments, extract the hack check, and then be able to reverse engineer it, and then actually make it to where they can hack Pokemon that won't be detected by the system. And now we get to Paul Ruiz's team. That's 10 minutes of build-up. That's 10 minutes of actually setting the stage as to what's happening here, because that's how complex cheating has gotten. You know, it's not like those old days you see a Dream Ball Aegislash immediately cheated, somehow Ray Rizzo gets hired by the Pokemon Company instead of punished for being the cheater that he is. Same for Wolf Glick. He actually gets like a massive feature at the 2018 World Championships and stuff like that. You know, just full press, full coverage. He got eliminated day 1. Cheater got what he deserved. Fortunately, that happened. But I mean, we have all this, and now like people are on, you know. I caught the Beast Ball Porygon too. I think that was an international from Joshua Lorsey. So internationals, worlds, regionals, premier events, it happens at all tiers of play. And the VGC, the top players, will defend the players that are hacking. Again, this is shown in my dozen or so videos about the subject, because they all hack. They all gotta look out for themselves, and then they all just buff each other up and support each other, and just kind of ignore any of the things that come out. So now this is where things get suspicious. So you got 24 hours. And what team does Paul Ruiz make? Shinies. Well, shinies have 1 in thousands of odds, especially on a fresh save file where you're not going to have enough time to get the shiny charm. So yeah, you're dealing with 1 in 4,000 on top of breeding, IVs, natures, because you're not going to have enough time to get bottle caps, and all that other fun stuff going on. So what that means is this right here. So we can see he actually has like a majority shiny team, or at least a half shiny team. Shiny Snorlax, which can be difficult to get because of the way that Snorlax breeding works. Shiny Salamence, Shiny Gastrodon, and then he runs a non-shiny Incineroar. My guess, non-shiny Incineroar, because of this video right here and the tournament organizers saying to breed your Mons and Pokeballs. Which brings us to Paul's team only having Pokeballs. Sounds like the strangest complaint. Sounds like Verlisify, you finally lost it and you just want to call everyone a hacker when they're never hacking. Except, when you play the gameplay naturally, when you make it to that stage in the game to where you're actually catching the Pokemon, you're not going to use the weakest tool to catch Pokemon. It's going to be an Ultra Ball at the very least. It's going to be a Quick Ball for that 5 times capture rate at the beginning of the encounter. It's going to be some other random Pokeball that gives you an advantage. That going out, finding the Bagon, and after you make it to that stage of the game, and then only using it like a Pokeball on it with its pretty difficult capture rate, and then breeding it down, that's not going to happen. The interesting thing about breeding mechanics is they've been buffed to a way that it hides cheating, because it makes it to where like the lineage of Pokeballs is all kinds of crazy right now, but now it also makes it more apparent that, you know, if at some point in that Pokemon's lineage it was not caught in a Pokeball, which is the more common option, that means a full team Pokeball Pokemon is going to look suspicious. That looks like Verlisify Fear. You know, the tournament organizer that's supposed to be steering people away from cheating, telling them how to properly cheat, has actually gated them into something that caused suspicion. I'm not saying that this immediately confirms it, but it causes a very high degree of suspicion when natural gameplay would at least cause a strange Pokemon to crop up. So let's go through. This is going to be his Salamence's Gastrodon, Pokeballs. This is going to be a Snorlax, Pokeballs. Snorlax, shiny, I already mentioned it, pretty difficult to get. So then, I found some other video of him battling. So Wolfey versus Paul Wees, Game 1, World Championships 2017, Day 2, Round 4. So, going back to Worlds, team actually looks a bit different. So we have an Alolan Persian inside a Dusk Ball. So we have a normal Snorlax, so not a shiny Snorlax. Suddenly picked up a shiny Snorlax over the year. Alright, good for him. Except he only had a day to get it, you know, sarcasm. Gotta make it clear what I'm doing right here. So because of that, you know, oh wait, he's caught his Pokemon in other Pokeballs to make them easier to capture, but also it seems like he has a signature, a calling card, which makes it even a bit more suspicious. So later on in this battle, we see a Salamence in a Love Ball, non-shiny. Okay, so suddenly picked up a shiny Salamence that isn't in a Pokeball that his parent Salamence would have had. So this actually makes it a bit more suspicious, because if he used this Salamence for breeding, then that means that Love Ball should be on that shiny Salamence, because that we already know it's competitive. That's got great IVs. You do Masuda Method, Shiny Charm, Foreign Ditto, shenanigans, and why not? Let's say that the shiny Bagon would be possible to hatch in the way that you want it, but we're talking about completely different parents, completely different Pokemon, all that fun stuff going on right there. And then, this actually proves that it was not his wife that transferred over his Pokemon. Like, that would have been the best way of getting it done, that we see right here. You know, Latin International Championship, or International Challenge, 2018, Round 6, Paul Ruiz. He's here, he's representing. For some reason, the video is all out of scale, but this is his shiny Salamence in a Dusk Ball. So what you're saying is this guy pulled 2 shiny competitive Pokemon in a very short span of time. Again, like, assuming that he didn't just gym them the day before. We're trying to like build the implausibility right here, because some people need this spelled out to them. That's a community I've been dealing with forever. So yeah, I struggled to get a shiny Pokemon that isn't competitive, let alone one that actually is. Because you have to also get the nature gamble, you have to get the IV gamble, you have to get everything perfect on top of the 1 in thousands of odds. And then so this one, suddenly his Love Ball became a Dusk Ball and is shiny, and then we can also see another Dusk Ball on his shiny Gastrodon. So it looks like he did win a Pokemon Showdown, made his exact team, export out to PK Hex, had a friend, had one of the top world's competitors that uses hacking, make him the team, give it to him for the day, and then we were good to go. Because, yeah, like, it's actually funny right here. that to avoid suspicion of his hacking, like in the paranoid way of making sure the team looked clean, it became dirty. That the dust ball gives it away. And the weird thing is, like, yeah, he has dust balls on all of his shiny Pokemon. Now, looking at some other parts of his team, so it's back to the International Challenge, a level ball on his Tapu Koko. That's kind of hard to believe if it's legit. And then we can even confirm it's level ball from these particle effects that happen right here. Again, why use an inefficient ball on a very hard to capture legendary Pokemon that you have to get the right nature and you have to get the right IVs and you have to make everything perfect once again? Because the catch rate on a level ball against Tapu Koko is level 60. If the player's Pokemon is a higher level than the wild Pokemon but less than double it, that's completely the only option because level 100 is max, level 6 Tapu Koko can't get level 120 Pokemon, so times 2 is going to be the capture rate. Well, that's... why not just use an Ultra Ball? You get one level ball in the game. So you're going to tell me that the 0.4% capture rate is the one... You get one level ball in the game. So you're telling me that the lowest capture rate at 0.4% is going to be with your one-time use level ball and not like spamming, 20 or so Ultra Balls? Kind of hard to believe. Also, it's going to be harder to status Tapu Koko in a way that you can catch it because it is an electric Pokemon. I mean, at least go for the repeat ball. Have a friend trade you Tapu Koko or get the event Tapu Koko, trade it back, that way it's registered in your Pokedex, and then the repeat ball is going to be a 3.5x. So that's going to be something you can straight buy in the game that isn't exclusive, that gives you a better catch rate. Timer Ball, that's the go-to. You see a legendary Pokemon Timer Ball, you know that guy earned it. Now watch that come back to bite me as someone just gins all their legendaries in Timer Ball, but you know what I'm getting at, guys. That the inefficiency right there is pretty absurd compared to some of the other options that are possible right here. And then, I think that's it. He also had a shiny Celesteela. That's sketchy in its own right. Those are just some crazy odds with everything else stacking up. So it's kind of strange. He has a shiny Amoonguss, 2 shiny Gastrodon, 2 shiny Salamence, a shiny Snorlax, a shiny Celesteela, a very trickily captured Tapu Koko. With all that, like, yeah, it's like, man, I do so much breeding. I got just network and webs of friends and stuff helping me out playing Pokemon. I've never had this kind of luck. And I also don't, put the amount of training in that's required for Pokemon Worlds. And he said he had a job that he actually couldn't fly in on Thursday. He had to fly in on Friday because work wouldn't give him the day off. So, I mean, he's a very busy man, and yet he finds all the time to have these accomplishments that I can't have while I actually play Pokemon for a living. And then all this other suspicious behavior on top of it. Pokemon's rotten, guys. It's crazy. And it's funny how he was caught, and it's funny how everything lines up. So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Wolfglick caught yet again with cheated Pokemon. I would expect better of a Pokemon World Champion, so let's get right into this one. Retweet and follow for a chance to win a copy of the Raichu I used to win the 2016 Pokemon World Championships. Wolfey tweeted this one out himself. This is his thing in celebration of that, but he incriminates himself. I don't even have to do anything right now. Copy. This is a cloned Raichu. Well, cloned Pokemon are absolutely against the terms of service. So right here we can scroll up. This is the Pokemon website. Terms of use, this applies to all Pokemon games, all apps published by Pokemon, whether it's tablets, smart TVs, video game consoles, any platform unless otherwise indicated in the app, but that includes XY, Pokemon Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The terms of use apply here. We go to rights and restrictions, effectively things you can and cannot do, mostly things you can't do, such as use or facilitate the use of any unauthorized third-party software, bots, mods, hacks, scripts. That means you can't use Power Save to clone even illegal Pokemon. Like, if the Pokemon was caught in-game, the second you clone it, illegitimate right there. So that's the Pokemon terms of service saying this. But also, we have this one right here. Take any action to cause or exploit known or latent malfunctions, bugs, or other defects in the service or system used to operate the service, which means you can't even cloning glitch a legit Pokemon, because then it's illegal. So no matter what Wolfey did, this copy is illegal, so he's giving away a cheated Pokemon. Now, before we get carried away with all the haters in the comment section, just gonna brush up on the two quote queep fallacy. It doesn't matter what I've said in the past. It doesn't matter about my videos, because I know someone's gonna bring up my videos about other glitches and stuff in the game, but that does not absolve Wolfey of his cheating. That does not absolve him of his illegal Pokemon as a Pokemon World Champion. So there's your fallacy, guys, and let's keep going. So now it gets crazy. There's been like 3 actions that I've called Wolfey out on, and it gets even more sketchy because he made all of his videos about me private. No apology, even though I proved that he lied about me. I proved that without a doubt he is using an illegal Pokemon. Like, there's no question there. There's nothing that you can use to defend the Dream Ball Raichu. That it cannot exist through normal gameplay, no matter what. That's just fact right there. But he deleted his videos, didn't really make a statement about it as far as I'm aware. Something like that. I guess since he's a world champion now, he's trying to turn it around. He wants some good PR from that. But he doesn't apologize for having an illegal Pokemon. He doesn't apologize for me for slandering my channel. And my video right here exposes him on all that. So he says that you can breed hacked parents. Like, if you have 2 illegal Pokemon, you breed it, the Pokemon that comes out is legal. He says this to his audience, thousands of people, potentially 10,000 or more. And he was absolutely wrong as a Pokemon World Champion. The Pokemon Company sent me a response saying that Pokemon bred from illegitimately obtained Pokemon are not considered illegal. So even if you breed with this Raichu, this is an illegitimate Pokemon according to terms of service. All the things that this man talks about when it comes to legal Pokemon is wrong. So don't take his advice. You can't breed hacked parents. You do not want to be caught with this cloned Raichu because that's against the rules. And he just kind of goes on like that. So I caught him on his lies right there, and yet instead of admitting that he has at least been caught with cheated Pokemon, he decides to cover it up, which is pretty bad. And then on the channel I was looking for it, I don't really see anything, so there we go. And just to make sure you guys know that this is his Raichu, this is the Raichu that we have, and this is his Raichu that he is giving away. Same stats. So this is a video that shows the Raichu, and it's an Italian event Raichu that this was given away. I'm trying to remember exactly when. Like, there was the Pika Cup, and then you got the awesome Endeavor Pikachu. So that's where, like, this comes in very fancy. So yeah, as we can see here in the video, cloned Raichu, everything's the exact same. I made sure to double check, so there we go, guys. Also, I do find it a little suspicious that it is an Italian Raichu. That makes me feel like either someone in the VGC community gen this Pokemon, or PK Hex, or Power Save, whatever. I'm not savvy with all the cheating methods to bypass hack check. The winner, congrats to Neofinks for winning the Raichu giveaway. Don't use the Raichu, man. It's illegal, so that's all I've got to say. Oh, here's the video about Wolfglick and his illegal Raichu. Somehow, video getting tons of hate and dislikes, even though it's fact and you can't argue with it, and it's a world champion. So now we're going to kind of step away from Wolfey and look into the deeper side of VGC. It just seems like there is a group of people that gen Pokemon or cheat Pokemon for a lot of the top VGC players. I mean, Ray Rizzo, Dream Ball Aegislash, Ray Rizzo at Nationals with a absolutely hacked and cheated Pokemon. It actually goes deeper because there's this post on Reddit. Turns out Ray Rizzo used more than just a Dream Ball Aegislash. So if we click on the link right here, those, my friend, are Lure Balls. Now, Lure Balls are Kurt's balls, only obtainable in the 4th generation. However, hidden abilities were introduced in the 5th generation, which means his hidden ability Politoed and his hidden ability Ludicolo are absolutely illegal. So that was also what he has used for cheated Pokemon. Good job, Ray Rizzo, and it doesn't help that he's now commentating for VGC officially, as well as commentating other tournaments as a confirmed cheater in Pokemon at this point. Now, we also have Aaron Zhang, so we have Cybertron versus some other people, and this goes back to 2013. Look at how old that looks, the black and white and the sprites and stuff, but there's something really fishy about Cybertron's team, and as you can see through history of like Cybertron uses his team, it's always shiny Pokemon, and since it is competitive play, these are 5, 6 IV shiny Pokemon. All of his Pokemon on his team from that, it's very, very questionable and most likely hacked or cheated in some way, and even RNG manipulated Pokemon are illegal according to the Pokemon Terms of Service, because that is an exploit, and also you do need an unauthorized third-party app to get the RNG counter going So yeah, even RNG'd Pokemon, cloned Pokemon, stuff like that are absolutely against the rules. So I mean, it just kind of shows, like, it feels like there's either a couple of people that understand hack check really well that are cheating these Pokemon for the VGC players, so they just give them the teams and then they can practice and train and become top players, or the players are cheating it themselves because they know how to cheat that effectively, unless you're Ray Rizzo, because you don't understand ball mechanics. Same for Wolfey Glick. So it's really like a high up Illuminati kind of thing going on with the VGC, and why it feels so exclusive, because all the legitimate players are getting screwed over by the now top players that are cheating non-stop, but also getting away with it because there's favoritism involved, and it's really making the competitive scene a hilarious joke, as we can see right here. But it keeps on going. So I looked into how this worked in the 5th generation and even the 6th generation. So this is about PokeCheck. Pretty much you download a .pokemon file, and then you send it to the 5th game through a GTS spoof. I don't know if this is still available because GTS was shut down, but going into like 2014, 2015, and 2013, and all these other years of having Pokemon stuff, people were using PokeCheck nonstop, making nonstop illegal Pokemon, and then getting away with it because you can get through the hack check by doing so. Now, interestingly enough, even though it was 5th generation, you could create a Pokemon in PokeCheck. You can gen a Pokemon then, and then bring it into Kalos and give it the blue pentagon, thus making it legal for VGC. So there was something, you know, change the game region of 5th gen Pokemon to Kalos, transfer it over with Bank, and then you'll get the blue pentagon. So it's actually possible to use some kind of software in the 5th generation. I mean, Pokegening, PKX, I don't know all the software that's involved right now. Either way, you can cheat a Pokemon 5th gen, bring in 6th gen, use it in VGC, which is absolutely against the rules because that is not a Kalos native Pokemon. It's a tricked Kalos native Pokemon. And that was kind of the whole thing right there. And then it just keeps on coming, guys. Nugget Bridge log confirms Ray Rizzo is a cheater. So we have this right here. So this post is a Nugget Bridge log, I believe, coming off of an admin or something. Just leaving something here, or just leaving something so there's some fun around these parts. Apparently a mod on Nugget Bridge confirms that Ray Rizzo indeed tampers the game. So we have this paste spin of the chat logs, which also goes off of this right here. So, and that website, Pokesomething, what was it called? This is Ray Rizzo. This is his account in a chat room. I don't have one, or I don't have a power save, definitely buying one, and then he remembers PokeCheck. That's it. I miss PokeCheck, and I miss my R4, totally getting a power save. Now, we can also, like, scroll through the chat logs and stuff, and in here we have Cybertron, even popping into this room, while also having Zubat, who is the guy from this earlier conversation, and there's also Ray Rizzo that talks about, like, his cheating and stuff. And then if we scroll back up to the top, you know, this guy, the Sin guest, comes in, and he's, like, instigating about it. You know, he pulls up this conversation, he's like, yo, why would any of you be interested in third-party devices like this? Looks pretty bad in my opinion. And then everyone just starts laughing at him and tries to, like, you know, get him kicked out of the room for trolling or whatnot. So Zubat, he pretty much just kind of like says like, everyone does it, you know, it's okay. And then as this gets instigated more, he starts to backtrack, or he starts to be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. But overall, it's the whole idea that cheaters think that they can cheat the game because, oh, they don't want to waste their time with in-game stuff. So it's okay to cheat items and cheat all these things. Then PokeCheck comes up, you know, sounds like he means PokeCheck to me, man, looks pretty bad. And it's like, oh, that was 5th generation, you idiot. So very aggressiveness coming out of these like high VGC chat rooms and stuff where there's just a lot of cheating talk going on or something like that the Nugget Bridge mod exposed. So you can go through this, but eventually Ray hops on, but just starts becoming a mess about PokeCheck and power save and all these illegal sketchy things being done by higher ups in it and all kinds of suspicious teams and stuff. This was actually in the comment section of one of my recent videos. I enjoyed it. Meowstic Love Ball reminds me of the hacked Aegis Slash and how they somehow make timer stalling okay. Like, yeah, let's change the rules to accommodate Nugget Bridge. That's exactly what is going on in the higher up for Pokemon. So there we go, guys. I honestly don't know why they just don't admit to cheating at this point, or why someone just doesn't come out and like say it. Like Zubat already said, oh yeah, everyone uses it, you know. When you look at the community, a majority of the Pokemon community, even outside of VGC, even like outside of Smogon and stuff, like majority of the community cheats. That's all you need to know. So when you see it, it goes into VGC. There's obvious hatch Pokemon at various levels of events, making it into worlds. Like Sejun Park's Worlds team had been shown to be absolutely illegal at some point. Not his 2014 X and Y team, but his team from Pokemon Black and White used at Worlds, and it was an impossible team. So people get through the hat check with cheated Pokemon all the time, but still against terms of service, still against the rules, still cheating regardless. And it seems like there's some kind of higher up conspiracy thing going on with the top VGC players looking out for each other, all being friends, all using some form of cheated Pokemon or having access to it. And that's not even going into VGC 2016, where all the teams had legendary Pokemon that had crazy like competitive IV spreads, most likely cloned off of like at least one legitimate one or something. Potentially all of them were cheated, or a high majority of them were straight up cheated. I would like to see like shiny values checked, you know? If a Pokemon has matching IVs, shiny values, original trainers, nature, and all that stuff, it is absolutely a clone, therefore illegal. I want to see a statement from the Pokemon Company. I want to see a statement from these players that are using very suspicious Pokemon. I think that's all there is to it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Oh my god. This is one of the most insane things that could have ever happened when it comes to competitive Pokemon. Not only did VGC 2016 Masters Division World Champion Wolfey use cheated Pokemon, but now we have Carson Confer being disqualified from the Memphis 2018 VGC Regionals for having hacked Pokemon in an almost identical format. So the 2016 Seniors World Champion caught cheating. That is insane. Also, look at all these other things. 3rd London International, Sao Paulo International Champion, top 16 2018 Worlds. So a recent competitor as well. 5 regional top cuts. And it's like people say that cheating doesn't give an advantage when all we do is just find cheaters in the top of Pokemon right now. And I think this is a bad move because he got caught with a hacked Pokemon, immediately protected his account. We saw the same with Joshua Lorsey. Joshua Lorsey, undeniable 100% hacked Beast Ball Porygon, immediately went to that private because, of course, Relisify is on the way. But, I mean, you cheated. You hacked. You broke the rules. You just keep contributing to the pile. But now it's another VGC World Champion. I mean, like this is why VGC is dying. This is why, and we're going to cover this later on in the video. It is a $70. It costs $70 to register for a regional event right now. We have a $55 entry fee, but if you do it at the door, you get a late fee of $15. So $70 to participate in regionals this year. It was like $60 last year. It's like $40 or something the year before. Like, it just keeps getting more and more. That's because less and less people are showing up, because it turns out all the top players are hacking. No one wants to play. And all Pokemon does is reward him, rewarding Wolfey by just pretty much blowing him the entire 2018 Worlds, and then he got knocked out day 1 anyways. So that didn't do too much good. We have other players as well. I did this video, top 16 Worlds player caught hacking, and that was Alejandro Jimenez. Right here, he was using a Beast Ball Shiny, or not a Beast Ball, Premier Ball Shiny Incineroar, 100% impossible to get, and that's just another one. So like the 2018 Worlds, we had a format with legendary Pokemon, which is where we currently are. So the stats, the information on Carson, the Kyogre involved in the Memphis DQ was at level 100, had correct Met location. The only information judges gave to Carson is that it failed the electronic hack check. So that's actually really good. It looks like the hack check has been updated for 2018 in some way. But yeah, that's the Kyogre. So we're in a legendary format, which means it's much harder. You only get 3 guaranteed IVs. You can't breed for 5, so it's much harder and nearly impossible to get a full team of competitively perfect Pokemon. That's why we saw so many people get caught hacking when it came to the 2016 Worlds, because we're in the same situation. We have Marcus Statter pretty much running the same team as Wolfey, they're friends as well. The literal like 1 in billions of odds Raichu. This is a 0 guaranteed IV soft reset that came out perfect. Same with a lot of the other Pokemon. They didn't belong to Wolf, and they had impossible, well, not impossible, but you know, statistically impossible IVs to obtain. And then there was also some other fishy stuff. Jonathan Evans, I did a review of his Worlds Report team breakdown, and he was like literally changing his Kyogre overnight from perfect to perfect in, you know, 1 in millions of odds. So it just kind of shows the whole top of VGC is just infested with hacking and cheating. I've kind of proven that over the years. And again, another one to the pile. 2016 Seniors Champion, he is gone as well. And another funny thing is this guy has me blocked, and this guy has me blocked. So I make all these accusations, they turn out to be true, and then the VGC community, or people that are like trying to spread information stuff in the VGC community, they end up blocking me for really no reason, because I haven't engaged in harassment on anyone by just stating the facts. Like Lorcy cheated, Wolf Glick cheated, we have Paul Ruiz cheated. Like, it just happens every Worlds, and then these people get rewarded. So we also had Ray Rizzo, you know, gets rewarded by actually working for Pokemon after cheating in the 2013 National Champions. It was 2014, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2014. Either way, you know, it's almost like Memphis Stream is being intentionally hidden, only found out about it through word of mouth. And that's another thing, suppression. This is why I'm blocked, guys, because they try to hide the information. Eventually, I'll stumble into something. And also, like this tweet right here. You know, the information has to get out, but then I'm going to get it, and then that leads to all this crazy snowball of still trying to cover it up, but you have to address it at some point as well. I checked out the stream, and yeah, they just skipped over it. They gave, I don't remember who it was, but they gave the opponent the win, so he just got to walk on through. Everything else was hidden. They were trying to cover it up, brush over it, and then, yeah, it ended up in a DQ for the 2016 Seniors World Champion, as well as a 2018 Top Cut player. Isn't that just fun? Here we have his team from the Seniors Top 8 teams for 2016. So again, legendary Pokemon. Really difficult soft resets. Perfect setups. This doesn't happen. Oh man, look at that. Hidden Power, perfect IV. Really? And that's why he wins, because he's going to have an advantage over all the other players that play legitimately. And then that's just kind of what ends up happening. We also have Temple. Another person that's banned me, just kind of showing all the other people that are in. So notable, round 8 Memphis matches. Blaramons, Nails OU. You mean the people behind doxing Wolf Glick? So they could get an advantage at Worlds? These people are still being welcomed in the community? No punishment, nothing like that. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what is allowed. So now let's talk about the regional fees. So this is from Top Cut Events. And Top Cut Events is running a lot of the regional events for North America, and it's very weird because Pokemon, the way you find it is like, you know, you have to Google it. So this is what I did. I Googled Pokemon Regional Memphis. And then we have like all these links right here. So I went to Pokemon Regional Championships. This takes us to the list of all the regionals that we can expect for this year when it comes to Pokemon. This is a nice little list right here, but it doesn't give us any extra information. You can't just go to a link right here. I think you have to do the event locator, which is clunky and annoying, and you have to do all that, and then maybe you get to it. So yeah, and then I just kind of like Googled it. I went from that. So it's like regional championships. This links to the 2017 regional. This links to the, let's see, what do we have here? Oh, this is just links to TCG. Yeah, and then there's other ones from 2017. There's all over the place because the organization's pretty rough. So I went to this, 6 prizes, and then that gives us the regional championship. Then if you scroll down, you can make it to the tournament organizer. Tournament organizer being Top Cut Events, who is in charge of Hartford, Greensboro, Madison, Memphis, and Toronto. But if you don't know about that, if you don't follow the link chain, if you just see this on the Pokemon website or you hear about it and you somehow get the information, like it's so clunky, you know, the Google searches don't really give reliable information. If you're not in this VGC community spiderweb circle smog of just, you know, hacking and stuff, if you don't have your finger on the pulse, it's very hard to attend events, which is like another weird thing. You know, getting the CP, qualifying for Worlds is near impossible right now if you just want to come in and if you want to have fun, you just want to come in, play Pokemon. The system is very hard to understand, and then you have to involve yourself with these people that are just proven hackers at this point. They're just nonstop making the scene worse, covering for each other. It's just terrible. So the casual Pokemon fan has no reason to show up to an event, and because of that, you get punished by having to pay $70 to enter, like we showed earlier. So yeah, open registration, July 17th through September 22nd. How are you going to find this? You know, these things get updated pretty slowly. If you just see this, like, oh, cool, Memphis Cook Convention Center, Memphis, Tennessee, you look up some, like, they don't even have the date and time and stuff, so you, like, look up some extra information. You might have to, like, go through the event locator and dig through and stuff. But, I mean, that's a lot of work that feels like it just shouldn't be necessary. So, I mean, Pokemon's dropping the ball. The event organizers, they're doing sketchy stuff to hide this, and we've seen this before. We saw this with the judges. They were covering it up, you know? The Pokemon tournament organizer, they were just, Liberty Garden VGC. There's so many shenanigans, you know. The officials, the Pokemon tournament officials that say breed your Mons and Pokeballs so you don't get caught cheating, instead of saying, hey, don't cheat. The ones that literally said, we've seen you talk about hacking and pirating your game, don't do it. instead of just permanently banning them or something like that. So the hacking just gets unchecked by the tournament organizers, and when a tournament organizer does get caught, like what happened with this event, it's I'm the bad guy. Verlisify is the bad person for showing that there's actual cheating going on, which is why people don't want to get to events. If only it wasn't for that darn Verlisify talking about the truth, showing what happens in VGC, then maybe people would show up to the events and get cheated against. They drop their $70, they would lose in the first 3 rounds because they don't have perfect Pokemon like the opponents, especially in this legendary format, and you know what? They don't deserve their $70. They don't deserve to save their $70 for a fair chance. But that's what's killing events, is Verlisify speaking the truth. Like, that's literally what these organizers are saying. You can find that in the links in the description down below. I'll link those videos because they're really interesting stuff. Some of my favorite videos talking about this and then Liberty Garden VGC. So we have all that going on. And then we also have side events. So, you know, we have $10, you know, add to the, in addition to prizes listed here, Top Cuts events will generally add the following to the prize pool, 100 prize wall points for every win. So, I mean, they have, like, their own system that's going on with this, but that's like third party. Why isn't Pokemon in charge of all this stuff? You know, they started putting it out to third party, and then that's when we started seeing these crazy entry fees for the events, and it just doesn't line up. Also, I think back in, I don't remember what year it was, like 2015? Wasn't it like $20 to enter a regional or something? I mean, the price has just been going up every year because less people are showing, but they still need to cover the venue fees, and now it seems like Pokemon is doing less to support the venue or the events, because there's no one showing up, so they don't see it worth it anymore. It's just a vicious cycle that gets worse and worse right now. And yeah, then you have to like go down all the way here to see the events, to see the times, all that stuff, you know, when the start times are. Here's the premier challenges, here's the side events, here's all this other stuff. 9 a.m. Central Time. So eventually you find this information, you show up to the event, you get cheated against, you drop your $70, you get punished for registration fee. So you tell your mom, hey, it's $55 to play Pokemon. They go, wait, what? Or you scrounge together your money, it's $55 to play Pokemon. Wait, what? And then there's a 15 on top of that. You got to eat out because you're going to be at the event hall all day, travel, all kinds of other stuff. Spending over $100 to play Pokemon. That doesn't just sound like a fun day of playing Pokemon to me, and it's after going through all the hassle of finding all this stuff, instead of just everything being nice and neat and should be set up by like Pokemon, all this like third-party outsourcing, all of this community mess that's going on, and people defending each other and have to be in the right circles. This is what's killing Pokemon, guys, and there's no update. Here's the Pokemon Twitter. Over the last few days, nothing about Memphis, where to go, when to sign up, Nintendo Versus. Nothing about Memphis, when to sign up, stuff like that. We got Smash Bros. Ultimate talk from Mimikyu, we got Big House, and then we also had some Splatoon. But, I mean, Nintendo Versus has talked about some Pokemon accomplishments before. It's just that the scene's dead because of all the hacking, because Nintendo not doing anything, then the terrible organization, and then the terrible TOs. And then it just all loops back around to where, hey, look at that, another world champion caught cheating. So, there we go. This will never end. And this is why Let's Go is just going to be the best way to go. It's like, yeah, sure, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon is going to be the format for 2018. Well, let's just go back and have some fun with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Like, that honestly should have been it. They should have made competitive for Let's Go for the VGC. They might transition once the games come out, maybe once like something establishes, because that would honestly get a lot more people in the door than this mess of, yay, legendary Pokemon everywhere, you have to hack to win, it's 2016 all over again, and now more people are getting caught. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day, thank you very much for watching.
Sejun Park was a cheater, and his Pachirisu was overrated. This is real Pokemon history with Verlisify. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. Now, where do we begin? Well, let's go to the Pokemon Championship history video posted by the official Pokemon YouTube channel, because the narrative is that Sejun Park has always been an innovator. It wasn't just his Pachirisu, he had Lightning Rod Marowak, he had Follow Me Magmar, but that Magmar is actually a hack. Now, it's been pointed out by Kurt in the past when I called out Wolf for having his hacked Galarian Moltres. Kurt came in with the 25th anniversary saying, yeah, everyone had hacked teams except for the Japanese players. Wolf's Moltres was hacked. Also, they mentioned Sejun Park and his 2013 Pokemon World Championship Magmar, but that was an impossible hack. And then there's this post on Reddit going into that. So the winner of the 2014 VGC Worlds has used hacked Pokemon, including some with illegal stats in other competitions, including the 2013 World Championships. Now this point is very important because it means the Magmar had stats it could never obtain, because a Follow Me transfer from XD or Coliseum has a nature and gender lock. So this spread will never occur for Magmar. It was a mega hacked Pokemon, but you can also see that there were problems with all of Sejun's Pokemon that he used at the 2013 World Championships. So this was uploaded into Pokecheck, and you can see these are just other people's gen Pokemon. See the PID and IVs? Exactly the same as other users, different OT language, not possible in Generation 5. And we can even see the legality flags, Pokemon is edited or RNG abused, and RNG abuse was against the rules at the time. It's not considered natural gameplay, which was a part of the rules, and you have to use a third-party unauthorized app that can only exist through hacking the game and reverse engineering it, which blatantly violates the Pokemon TOS. So RNG was not legal, and this was also confirmed by judges at VGC events as well as Pokemon Company support. But Sejun's Pokemon were just straight up hacked, not even RNG'd, including the Marowak that you used to build this player's legacy. So let's see what's going on with the Marowak. Shiny and flawless black and white 2 breed. Not even possible with RNG due to the static seed bug, only in black and white 2, but also not RNG'd on black and white as the egg met location is not link trade, and that's his other Pokemon as well. Also in Generation 5, the breeding mechanics were horrible. It was not possible for a legitimate player to breed a full team of perfect competitive Pokemon. Ability inheritance was random and specific for hidden abilities. Everstone was only a 50% chance to get the correct nature, and this was pre-X and Y Destiny Knot, so you were only passing down 3 IVs from either parent. And breeding with a 6 IV Ditto to begin with has always been illegal, so yeah, you weren't even breeding 5 IV competitive Pokemon back then. If you were using a full team of 5 IV Pokemon under any circumstance, you had an objective stat advantage over legitimate players. So what Sejun's team shows is that every top player was using hacked Pokemon and no one was wasting their time on RNG. So when we go to the World Championship Finals for 2012, where we have Ray Rizzo versus Wolfglick, and they all have perfect legendary Pokemon, hidden power, shiny, and even non-legendary Pokemon, they were all hacked in. Wolf can't even get a legal Incineroar, Galarian Moltres, or Groudon in Generation 8 when competitive Pokemon is easier than ever before. Of course he isn't spending the over 100 hours to RNG and train this team for Worlds. Getting competitive Pokemon is easier than ever, but we saw record disqualifications at the 2023 World Championships. We had all the VGC players just consoling each other over using hacked Pokemon and then treating it like a joke. So of course none of the competitive Pokemon at Worlds back then, even the non-shiny, non-legendary ones, were legal. And yeah, just looking at Sejun's team again, complete joke. Shiny, shiny, shiny. Everyone knew the teams of full shiny competitive Pokemon were hacked by then, and it was a complete joke, and the Pokemon Company was showing to be corrupt back then because they didn't care about enforcing the rules. Because if they actually enforced the rules, there wouldn't be a single player remaining at the Pokemon World Championships, and this is where things get crazy. 9 years ago, Kafadix commenting on Pokemon legality. I totally missed the fact that the Magmar also has a female OT, which is impossible for XD Coliseum. It's sad how 4 of the 5 World Championships have been won by players who didn't respect the illegally manipulated Pokemon clause. It was in the rules back then, even more so that TPCI doesn't do anything about it. Wonder if it'll be removed for 2015's rules. And that kind of happened because the rules kept on changing as more and more players kept on getting caught with hacked Pokemon. It used to say you will be disqualified for having any manipulated Pokemon, even if they had possible stats. But now it's changed to, oh, you might be disqualified. Look at the Pokemon legality clause. You're allowed to have 2, but they get removed from your team. And even then, VGC players are crying about it when they get caught at Worlds 2023. Sejun Park also did more cheating earlier on that year because he had a Wi-Fi tournament team of shiny perfect legendary Pokemon, shiny perfect legendary Pokemon, an Arceus more perfect Pokemon, just all hacks. We had illegal ID, SID entries, certain combos not obtainable in the game because of date time seeding. Also, we can just see that everything was a Pokegen upload. Nothing wrong at the surface, but when the same uploader has 2 uploads to Pokecheck with the same Pokemon, you can tell PID was left blank in Pokegen. Trainer couldn't decide exactly what set he wanted to use, so after 3 mild uploads, it was decided that Naive would be the best nature for a Deoxys. From Gen 3, you can see how the ID, SID changed, but not the trainer name for each tweaked upload. So just uploading Pokemon to Pokecheck. And of course, even over 9 years ago, we had people lying about Pokemon legality. There is no such thing as a legal hack. You can't legally cheat something. And that's where we keep seeing this. You know, there seems to be way too many people who seem to be missing the difference between legal and legitimate. There is no difference. This is a lie. Legal, on the other hand, simply means the Pokemon specs abide by the rules by what a Pokemon can potentially be. The possible stats and nature stuff doesn't matter because it goes against the rules of no illegally manipulated Pokemon. A Pokemon that has been genned or hacked or modified in any way, even if completely possible to obtain in the game, is still 100% illegal, and there is zero argument for it being legal. This is just cheaters changing the definition of Pokemon legality to try to get away with cheating, much like how we're seeing Pokemon challenges change the definition of a Nuzlocke so he can get away with cheating rare candies and still call it a challenge, even though hacking in rare candies removes all of the challenge. Also, if we go off of what a Nuzlocke is, doing anything to reduce or remove the grind no longer makes it a valid Nuzlocke, but bad actors like Pokemon Challenges are trying to gaslight the community away from that so they can have an easier time making their fraudulent clickbait content. That's why I'm speaking out against Pokemon Challenges, because I watched it happen to the Pokemon VGC community, where it's all built on lies. But even though Seijun got caught with hacked Pokemon, even though he had Pokemon with stats that were completely impossible for a legitimate player to obtain, gotta run cover. Did these advantages win him the Korean VGC Championship that many years in a row? Hell no. Kid's a freaking genius. No, the World Champ difference has always been cheating to have an advantage over your opponent, and this especially applies to Wolfey with his 2012 team and his 2016 Raichus, of which he had at least three different hacked Raichus. So Pokemon VGC was all cheating back then, and it's still all cheating now. There's just no legitimate history to be found anywhere inside of Pokemon. But what about Seijun's Pachirisu? He brought the mouse that no one expected. It twirled its little finger. It ate a Draco Meteor. Surely this proves Seijun is the GOAT and the cheating doesn't matter. Actually, no. Pachirisu is a surprisingly bulky Pokemon, and my channel, back in 2013 into 2014 for Pokemon X and Y, was already onto this. So it's not like he discovered anything about Pokemon. The philosophy of the channel is every Pokemon is viable, bulk is superior, and setup tanks will win you the game, especially against bad Smogon players that will just give you free turns with over predictions, entry hazards, and bad switches. And I did mostly VGC content back then, so the same philosophy still applied, which also makes it more interesting looking back on it, because Cybertron made a video defaming me even way back then, saying that I'm not like a real competitive Pokemon player and I don't represent VGC, even though he's also one of the OG cheaters with Wolfey and Ray Rizzo using hacked, shiny, legendary Pokemon. And now he's trying to prop up all of these fake narratives as an employee of the Pokemon Company while running cover for all of his friends that have been caught cheating, and then completely ignoring all of the disqualifications at Worlds 2023. It really comes full circle, and Verlisify still always right. It's kind of crazy. So going back to the Pachirisu build, 60, 70, 90. Doesn't look that crazy, but the 90 kind of fat. So if you go max hit points, it's actually surviving a lot. And if you max out the defense, it just becomes a bulky Pokemon. Now, it's not as innately tanky as a Clefable, but Clefable shows that even with a 73 defense and less than 100 hit points, you go full invest in defense and you're tanking a lot, and then you become an absolute menace, especially with Unaware, which is why Clefable has been one of the biggest competitive threats ever. Pachirisu just kind of diet on that, and when you go max hit points, max defense, you're a 3-hit KO Pokemon with Citrus Berry, which is above average tanking, and you have to get into something very dedicated like a Blissey or Ferrothorn to start getting into 4-hit KO territory. So the Ellie Squirrel Pokemon is surprisingly bulky, and if you're not offering anything offensively, then yeah, you just go full bulk. Also, I realized I made a mistake earlier because I called it a mouse. That was just because it's a Pika clone, but it is an electric squirrel. Semantics aside, my initial thought was like, oh, you just run this on the Pachirisu, max hit points, max defense, special defense nature, it balances out. But there's actually a team report for Seijun Park's Pachirisu because it is such an iconic Pokemon and an iconic team. He said that because there was so much physical threat in the meta, he just ran it with a defensive nature, and also because it has Nuzzle and no special attacks. Even though you think like, oh, electric special attacking, nah, you just go Impish minus special attack, and then you run this, and again, you're a 3-hit KO against everything, and now you just have like a lot of nasty support. What about the damage calculation? So, Salamence used Draco Meteor. That's a stab, powerful dragon-type move from a pseudo-legendary. Nothing surviving that, except for an uninvested Pachirisu. 60-90, without any tankiness, is surviving a timid or naive max special attack Draco Meteor. But the thing is, Salamence is mostly running mix with like Draco Meteor as a big damaging out. But if you just go 252 hit points, yeah, that's the damage calc we saw, about 50%. And then half of that gets shrugged off by a Citrus Berry, and Pachirisu is ready to take another hit. So even that play isn't iconic. That's just like the most standard damage calculation that I guess only Timmies and hackers that don't understand Pokemon would be surprised by. And then when you look at what Pachirisu offers, Paralysis, and this is Gen 6 Paralysis, so 75% speed reduction. Follow Me, which is also just very common in VGC. Same thing with Amoonguss Rage Powder. And then Super Fang, so you don't even need offenses. You just cut your opponent's stats in half, and then any hit is going to get the pickup KO. You also have Protect for the Jabate, Volt Absorb for Rotom and Zapdos. It's just a good Pokemon. And if you're not just net decking meta Pokemon, which again is the entire philosophy of this channel, it's not a hard Pokemon to discover. Now, I will give Seijun credit because it is risky to run a very heavy anti-meta team like he did. That if you get some weird matchups early on, or if you get outplayed by a meta team, you could just get too many losses and then not top cut, even though you were easily capable of winning the finals. But now if we just kind of take a modern understanding of Pokemon and look at the team breakdowns, yeah, his team was built really well against pretty much what everyone was running. But there's also a couple of other caveats. That 2014 was Kalos Dex only. There was no National Dex. You didn't have access to all of the legendary Pokemon, so it was a reduced power format, which gave more chance for Pachirisu to succeed, which is also why we don't see these wild, very underused Pokemon picks succeed at Worlds once the formats start opening up. And if anything, his Gothitelle was the bigger discovery because Tickle is a nasty move, especially when you're looking at everyone having Talonflame, Garchomp, Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Lucario, Mega Mawile. You don't want to be losing attack and defense, especially going up against a Mega Gyarados. Like, Mega Gyarados is just super bulky. So, it gets a little bit of support either through Paralysis, its own Intimidate. You have a Pokemon that's kind of specially bulky like Pachirisu using Follow Me. The team just looks like it was built to win. Yeah, Gothitelle lowers your defense and then Garchomp tags you. That's going to hurt. Gothitelle, also just a really fat Pokemon. It had the Thunder Wave. So if we go back to the team report, hit points, defense, special defense, a little bit of creep and some damage and stuff. He was onto the optimization of going 4-4, but that's also not really that crazy. But yeah, when you just look at this, Thunder Wave, this is unnerfed Thunder Wave as well. So it had perfect accuracy. Again, huge speed cut. Nothing wanted to really deal with that, and it's not like, oh man, they have a Garchomp or they have a Pokemon that's electric, so I can't hit them. You just tickle or protect, and you get turns, and then you heal up with leftovers, and Gothitelle is just a very annoying and bulky Pokemon to begin with, but also, like, wait, 70-95? 60-70? I mean, or 60-90 even. Like, Pachirisu is as specially bulky as Gothitelle is physically. And these are just the overlooked things. And the Gardevoir was also really clutch because you have a Choice Scarf Pokemon that's coming in and just abusing Pokemon that are already weakened by the rest of the team with enough chip or finishing damage. So it was a good anti-meta team, but it wasn't something that only Sejun Park could come up with, especially because I was already applying a lot of this in 2013 into 2014. I just had no chance to compete because, again, everyone is a proven cheater. So that's the real Pokemon Championship history. It's always been more fraudulent and cheat-filled than you imagine, and not even Sejun Park with his little Pachirisu changes any of that. He isn't like, oh, the one clean player that did it with the unusual pick to show everyone. He's a cheater just like everyone else that found a strategy no one expected because everyone else was a lazier cheater. And it's not even like he was ahead of his time, that you need modern Pokemon understanding to really get his team. No, this was stuff that was already being developed back then anyways. Now, I also didn't go into the full deep dive of like his entire matchups and run into the top cut and into the finals. So there could even be like a surprising amount of luck with the players that he went up against, you know, dodging bigger threats and only getting the anti-meta teams as team worked into. Who even knows? So yeah, there's nothing interesting or valid about the history of competitive Pokemon. All the stories are fake and all the players are cheaters. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here with your reminder that Ray Rizzo is a cheater. He's not the GOAT, he has no skill, and he only won because he had a massive advantage from using hacked Pokemon. VGC is disgusting, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, and we have a lot to break down about Ray Rizzo's cheating history. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, share with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. So yeah, we have this old GameFAQs post 9 years ago. Nugget Bridge log confirms Ray Rizzo is a cheater. This and a few other posts coming after Ray Rizzo was caught using a Dream Ball Aegislash at Nationals. It's completely impossible. Tell me how you get a Honedge in the Dream World. You can't. Now, he made a Facebook post, which he later deleted, saying like, oh, I just got it from a friend. Well, as we've covered on this channel countless times, the rules state, regardless if traded for, if you use a hacked Pokemon in any capacity, you are responsible for that Pokemon. Also, the funny thing about the Facebook post is that it showed Ray Rizzo understands nothing about how Pokemon works, so he's just been cheating the entire time. And then people started saying, oh, but what about a Ditto with a Dream Ball? Didn't work. In Generation 6, the Pokeball of female Pokemon is always passed down to its offspring, even when bred with Ditto. Male and gender unknown Pokemon have no effect on the offspring's Pokeball in this generation. And then people were saying, well, what if you caught a mineral group Pokemon in Generation 5 in the Dream World and then bred it with a male Honedge? But then you just don't get the Honedge, you get the female species. This is also one of the many things that proved Wolf Glick was a cheater because he used a Dream Ball Raichu that had an egg move. The only Dream Ball Pikachu that ever existed was a male, so it could have never passed down the Dream Ball into Wolf's Raichu. So Ray Rizzo is 100% a confirmed cheater, and that's before we even get into the Nugget Bridge logs, which get even crazier. But also, turns out Ray Rizzo used more than just Dream Ball Aegislash. Explanation: image above is from his Nationals match against Logan Castro. Both Pokemon had Lure Balls. Ludicolo cannot be caught in such Pokeball. Upon further thought, the Politoed is also illegal. Hidden ability Drizzle. Drizzle can only be passed down from mothers or fathers with a Ditto. April Balls can only be passed down by females and only used in Generation 4. And Generation 4 was before hidden abilities were introduced, so there was no way of inheriting the ball with a hidden ability. Again, just kind of showing Ray Rizzo, Wolf Glick, Cybertron, they understand nothing about Pokemon legality, which is why you can catch them with hatched Pokemon, which brings us to the log. Hey, I want to let you know I was browsing through the logs for this channel, right? And I found some fairly disturbing conversations. Cybertron! Aaron Zhang, does anyone have experience with power saves? And then someone else in the Nugget Bridge chat, reminder, Nugget Bridge was the main Pokemon VGC community, so if you just talk to any community member in the Nugget Bridge, they said, yeah, everyone uses power saves. Power saves doesn't equal, holy crap, let's use hacked Pokemon. So you can see they just do not care about cheating, and they also say it means free items, but the rules, even at this time, said using any hacked or modified items is against the rules and considered cheating. And then they just say the quiet part out loud, so I don't have to waste my time with in-game stuff. And that's also what's happening with Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that people are just trading into copies of the game that just have 999 of everything hacked in, but that's still cheating.
And then this person brought up the other chat log from Ray Rizzo. I miss having 999 wings and that website, Poke something. What was it called? Where you downloaded stuff. And that's what busted Seijun, because you could see the Pokemon that he used at Worlds were Pokecheck uploads. So Pokecheck, where you hacked in uploads of people's competitive Pokemon. Like how you just take a paste and then put it into PK Hex. More users, there's literally nothing wrong with using Pokecheck. Nothing wrong with using a hacking tool. Great. King of Mars. I won Nationals with all of my Pokemon from Pokecheck. Who's King of Mars? Gavin fucking Michaels. I've covered this log in the past because it triple confirms Ray Rizzo is a cheater. And now it all comes full circle because Gavin Michaels won regionals in 2023 with hacked Pokemon, got disqualified from Worlds for using hacked Pokemon, instructed people how to bypass the hack check, and then got banned. 2013 Masters US National Champion Report by King of Mars. They were just always cheating the entire time. I mean, we knew this. We all knew this. You could go and watch any VOD from back in day, and it's either full teams of shiny Pokemon, or the thing pops up, it's like, wait a second, Ray Rizzo has 1 battle point and 14 eggs hatched. Oh, and by the 2014 World Championships, we already knew that he was using hacked Pokemon. This guy, I grabbed breeding parents off of Pokecheck, which is still cheating. The Pokemon Company has confirmed if you have ever bred hacked Pokemon, you are cheating. This includes 6IV Ditto. If you did not obtain a 6IV Ditto yourself, of course it's hacked. Don't play stupid. Everyone knows it. The odds were just not possible. And even with Ditto raids and Ditto events, the amount of hacked Ditto to legitimate 6IV Ditto is thousands to 1. Because it's an entire community of all cheaters that have always been cheating and hacking Pokemon. But this response from Pokemon Company, we are not in a position to discuss the specific terms of legality for Pokemon. However, all Pokemon must be obtained through legitimate in-game means. Therefore, if a Pokemon is bred from illegitimately obtained Pokemon, it is not considered legal, nor is a Pokemon otherwise impossible to obtain through normal means in the game. And of course, that's how it is. You don't get to deflect by saying like, well, I still bred this Pokemon. It doesn't matter that I have a hacked Ditto. No, the rules make it clear. No hacking anything in your game whatsoever. There's no loophole. There's no bypassing it. This rule is also why RNGing is cheating, because it's not natural gameplay to use a third-party app that was derived from reverse engineering the game data through hacking to then do all the RNG stuff to obtain the Pokemon you're looking for. But that doesn't even matter, because this shows that no one in VGC was using RNG. That was just the excuse when they were caught with like full shiny teams, like Ray Rizzo at the 2011 World Championships. We have Cybertron at the 2012 National Championships with a hacked shiny Cresselia. His Tyranitar and Scizor also shiny and competitively perfect in Generation 5, and every Thundurus had some kind of hidden power. 2013 Pokemon World Championships Masters Top 4. Cybertron again, more shiny Pokemon, and legendaries. Pokemon VGC Worlds 2012, Wolf Glick vs Seijun Park. Wolf with an obviously hacked team, Seijun getting busted for using all kinds of hacked Pokemon in Generation 5. I did a video on that recently. It just never ends. And then Cybertron gets hired by the Pokemon Company, and Ray Rizzo was even a caster for a bit. It's all cheaters. They weaseled their way into play Pokemon, and now cheating is okay. And then we have the global director of Pokemon Esports, Chris Brown, doing nothing about it because he's friends with everyone too, and then he also follows all of these cheaters that even admit to cheating, and nothing is done about it. So the corruption is deep. I've already been covering this, and it's one of those things where, like, yeah, of course they were all cheating back then. You could just see the full shiny hack teams topping worlds and topping all the events, crushing all your dreams if you want to be a legitimate Pokemon master. But then even after the outcries of, oh, it takes too long to get Pokemon, and we get into modern Pokemon with Scarlet and Violet being the quickest ever, nope, everyone's still a cheater. They're all just disgusting people. They can't keep it out of the official scene either, which proves that it's only malicious. Why does Wolfey lie? He has been caught cheating multiple times. It is undeniable. Why do all of these players deny it or just not bring it up? Oh, it's because cheating is wrong. It's a fact. They only do it to steal prize money and gain fame from the official Pokemon Championship. If it was only about playing Pokemon and not having to carve your own chess pieces or whatever stupid excuse they make, then they can just do it in Pokemon Showdown, or they can do it in an unofficial tournament where they allow the use of hatched Pokemon. But no, they deliberately behave dishonestly to break the rules and disadvantage others. The definition of cheating, and then all the repercussions that happen from that. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, the truth about Ray Rizzo and his cheating history, as well as all of his friends and all of VGC that I've been covering for over a decade now. So, if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.